Folks, welcome to Tuesday here in the High Council. I'm your host, Jeff Hicks. With me this week is a slew of special guests. First off, let's introduce someone who hasn't been here in quite a while, but we love to have him back. Say hello to Nick from Echo Base Network.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Glad to be here. Thank you for the invite, Jeff.
Glad to have you, man. It's going to be fun talking about tonight's topics with you.
Yeah.
Also, let's introduce a man that has never been on WCBS officially in this capacity. Say hello to the one, the only Stone Loki.
Thank you so very much. It is an honor to be here. Thank you for the invite, Jeff.
It's a pleasure to have you, man. We've met in person. We've had a lot of fun hanging out, having some drinks. So it's great to finally get the stream together like this. And finally, last but definitely not least, big friend of the channel. Glad to have him back as always. Our friend Caffeinated Wolf. Andrew, what is up, man?
Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm thrilled to be back. I've been very blessed to be able to be on here so often as of late. I appreciate you having me back.
Well, I always love to have people on that bring a lot of interesting points, so I know that's what tonight's show is going to bring for all of us. But, folks, Masterdebate will be back in the future. We needed to talk about some of these big topics that were going on tonight. The Ms. Marvel trailer, the Star Wars stuff, all of it we're going to cover here on the channel. But before we get into any of the official stories of this week's show, I wanted to make a big announcement. So I don't know if anyone else was on the internet this morning and picked these up, but Star Wars tickets for Celebration went on sale today. Did you guys see that they had a few left available?
Oh, I did not.
No, I didn't.
The only reason I bring it up to everyone's attention is because we'll be there again. In 2019, WCBS was there. We had a great time, made lifelong friends, even more in my case. And now we're going to come back because the world's finally opening up for Celebration. Now, I'm excited to go and see some stuff, but I'm more excited to go and hang out with everybody. So I wanted to do something special this time, not just this year, but this time. I'm giving away a free ticket on Saturday to come hang out at Star Wars Celebration with us here in Anaheim. So all you got to do is just watch and continue to share our content. And in the coming days, I'll let everyone know a more concrete way you can win, but it's just a free ticket to come hang out at the convention. You come pick it up from us. You can hang out with us if you want, or you can just go do Star Wars stuff. That's up to you. But we're there to hang out with the fans and laugh at what they try to make for Star Wars.
Does Disney know what Star Wars stuff is?
I don't think so, based off of the last couple of weeks. I don't even think they know what Marvel stuff is anymore, based off of our newest trailer. So, yeah.
That is Omega level cringe. That
dude.
thing. That is I don't even... Like, that was the last living brain cell that came up with that. It didn't even have a twin to rub itself together against to make something out of it. It was just that bad.
Let me just pull up a graphic and something we don't have to look at the weird superhero that's in this production, because I don't want to watch somebody that runs around on screen idolizing Captain Marvel. It's kind of weird. So here we go. Miss Marvel. So Andrew, you saw this trailer. We all saw this trailer. Well, most of us saw this trailer. And you definitely have some strong opinions. I'll just say this briefly. Folks, you can check out my video to hear what I have to say in that regard. But Andrew, why don't you go first and tell us what were your initial thoughts when you watched this outside of what you just said?
Oh, Lord Almighty. So I already have an issue with Kamala Khan as a character to begin with, because she stole Carol Danvers' actual hero name. Her sole purpose is just to try and artificially prop up Captain Marvel, and I'm using air quotes because Captain Marvel is Marvel, as any comic book fan worth their salt knows. But this trailer doesn't make any sense top to bottom. Let's just look at it from the baseline of, okay, so it's accurate enough to the comic that Kamala Khan is a massive fangirl for Carol Danvers, for Captain Marvel. Well, that doesn't make any fucking sense in the MCU. Why? Because Carol Danvers hasn't really had any interaction with anything or anyone in the MCU. She was here in the 80s for a hot minute, and she was really just here to handle that Kree and Skrull War business. And then she showed up for a total of, 2.5 minutes across the two ending films of the first three phases. And the only thing she contributed to that was saving Tony and then getting punched out of the final film. So what really is there to idolize there? How in the world are you a mega fan of this character who has had zero presence and even less impact. So right from jump, it doesn't make any damn sense. Secondly, that song, I get that the song that they used is like, it's relevant to current pop culture. It's popular. It's being played a lot on the radio. But I don't know what it is with trailers these days. They're relying way too heavily on songs that are pre-established to try and get some sort of a vibe, some sort of a tone across. And for me, this just like totally, I'm already not taking your trailer seriously. I guess may as well just go all the way, right? So the song is distracting. The premise for her powers is going to be entirely different in this from the MCU, or from the comics. Now, to be fair, I'm not a fan of her in the comics to begin with, so I'm not going to front and act like I am. But in the comics, she has morphogenetics. She can like kind of stretch herself, make herself big. She'll stretch and enlarge certain parts of her body, like her fist and whatnot. She's like this Dollar General Mr. Fantastic / Plastic Man hybrid in the comics. It's incredibly unoriginal and boring, and it looks stupid. So I guess, to be fair, they went with powers that don't look stupid, but at the same time, you just completely changed the character. So why are you even using this character?
I don't know. Well, we know why they're using the character.
Isn't the character for, yeah.
But I didn't realize how much they had changed. I've read her in Champions, the one where she's teamed up with Miles Morales Spider-Man, because that was
a book that didn't sell because nobody liked.
Yeah, I read it online, not gonna lie. But I tried to give Miles Morales like a different writer attached to him. So I was like, all right, we'll see who writes in this way and this. And then it was a no-go for me. It's weird how so much of our pop culture has become self-referential and so self-aware, and it's tiresome. We've reached the point where we're referencing something that sucks. Now, Nick, Loki, I forgot who said what off air, but had any of you guys seen this? And if so, what did you think?
I saw it. About 3 or 4 months ago, word came down that they were changing some of her powers because they didn't want people to get confused with the Reed Richards Fantastic Four character and Kamala Khan. And that makes absolutely no sense to me. But they said,
well, then why'd you make those her powers in the comics?
Exactly. But they said it'd be more Green Lantern-like, and I can see that this is exactly what they've done. Those rumors are true. I think this is the most cringe fest of a trailer I've ever seen from Marvel. What happened to the Avengers? What happened to Marvel's Avengers? Remember when we got that trailer and we were all excited and we were like, oh yeah, hell yeah, we're going to go see this movie.
There wasn't a single fool sitting in the audience when that trailer first dropped that wasn't freaking hyped.
That's right. And now we get this. This is what Marvel Studios is giving us, this cringe fest. Who else saw the bubbles at the beginning of this trailer? The bubble text?
Yeah.
The comic book bubble text, and was like, what in the hell
They're
are you?
trying to be cute, and it just looks dumb.
Nah, it too little. Yeah, this is cringe. This is so very cringe.
Well, Kamala Khan exists as a self-insert for Sana Amanat and G. Willow Wilson. That is her only reason to exist.
Yeah, and I pulled up the Avengers trailer real quick. In the first 19 seconds, you had explosions and all kinds of crazy things to get you excited. And now, folks, I understand one's a trailer for a television show and the other one's a trailer for a movie, but it's all the Marvel brand. And Disney has spent billions of dollars to acquire the brand and billions of dollars to promote the brand, and they want brand recognition. I want brand uniformity. When I drop my Marvel money, I expect it to look as good from Disney Plus to the theaters. I expect it to carry the same weight. I expect that because they want to charge me a premium. They want all of this out of me as a fan. They want my money. So yeah, no problem. But like, you got to make sure that this show looks as good as that show and contains this and that. I don't think we should have to settle for lesser this late into the superhero game. We've already seen the top of the mountain. Now we're in the nadir of everything, and it kind of sucks. Like, where's the next mountain to climb? We don't even have anything on the horizon.
It doesn't make any damn sense.
bargain basement Marvel. That's what this is bargain basement.
Yeah, exactly. This is you're shopping at Ollie's, or you're getting your shit from Salvation Army. That's what this is. Like, this is the hand-me-down, like, wasn't even washed before you got it, like, knockoff garbage from AliExpress, no less. Like, just any possible negative addition you can make to that, think of it and add it, because that's what this felt like and looked like and sounded like front to back. Absolutely abysmal. And it doesn't surprise me, really, because the MCU has not had a good run the last year and a half. Like, with the sole exception being No Way Home, which was a good movie and did gangbusters because it's an event movie and it's Spider-Man branding, so it's going to naturally do good money. Aside from that, we've had, like, decent at best, mostly junk. And so now she's here getting her own show, skipping lines when you have characters that we still haven't seen in the MCU that people actually care about, that actually have a following. People, you'll see, like, Stan normie Twitter accounts online that will have Kamala Khan as their profile picture and as their banner, and, will say, like, biggest Kamala Khan fan in their bio. You're not a Kamala Khan fan. You like the idea of Kamala Khan. Nobody actually likes Kamala Khan. If they did, her books would have sold. But the fact of the matter is, they sold like trash. So she's existing now just to skip lines, have some representation for women Muslim, and on top of that, she's just here to, like, artificially prop up Carol Danvers as Captain Marvel. Oh, like, she's got a super fan, guys, believe us. And then nobody fucking believes you.
No, I don't like this type of, I guess, just self-awareness is really the word. Like, it works for Deadpool, but so many of these writers keep trying to pull from other things and then put them onto other characters to create this hybrid version that, like, look, they go, oh, we have a character that nobody really likes. Well, if we take part A from Deadpool, part B from Spider-Man, and part C from this, and we put them together, we'll get this show. And what that does for me and millions of other people is dilutes Marvel to where, like, it's kind of samey, it's kind of whatever. And this show just looks like you took your Lego set and you pieced other movies or other Marvel things together, because I know it's not, a copy of Spider-Man, but didn't we just get the high school drama for the last 5 years from Tom Holland? Like, this just feels like an extension of more of that same.
Yeah, I already got Degrassi Marvel edition with those movies. I don't need any more of that shit.
And it's because these fucking hacks, they have no originality. They have no creativity. They have no ability to storytell. It's just like you said. All they're doing is pulling from other things and going, look at what we did, when in all reality, they didn't do shit. They just copy and pasted a little from column A, B, and C.
Mm-hmm. And that's why nobody likes this character, because she's just some generic, boring self-insert for unlikable people. So naturally, nobody's going to gravitate towards her.
Well, some people will, and then anyone else that doesn't is, you're going to be called so many things. What do you think the new name's going to be if you don't like this show or blindly accept it?
Islamophobic.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We're going to go that hard in the paint for a Marvel television series now.
Oh, dude, that's going to be not even layered in. It's just going to be caked on there. Like, that's going to be the whole, like, 3-inch top layer of the cake is going to be that. That's going to be the focus. Like, guarantee it. If they wanted to use a female Muslim character, they could have grabbed Dust. Oh, wait, Ethan made that character. They don't want nothing to do with that.
I don't want to. Dude, there are so many better. Marvel's firsts in quotations piss me off because there are other firsts that do it better. But now that it's new, we have to treat it like it's the best. And I think that's a Marvel problem across the board. And like you guys have been saying, this is bargain basement Marvel. It's been what? 2 years since Endgame, almost 2 years to the day, about a month removed. It has felt like that was our last big pop culture event. That was the last moment where Marvel felt like king of the world. Even fucking Spider-Man Far From Home that came out after that made money and was a fine film, but it still didn't feel like that big of a deal in comparison. And I don't know. I guess since I've been watching these movies since 2008, we've always been told what's next and this and that. I feel like they don't know what's next, and therefore I don't, get as excited.
No, I would absolutely agree with that. I don't think they really know what's next. I think they're all trying to outdo each other and out woke each other and out simplify everything. And the whole goal of this has been how can we pander to all of these people? And it's like throwing shit at a wall.
Well, they're
Nothing's
pandering to their
sticking.
colleagues is what they're doing instead of pandering to fans. They're doing this shit. It's the same problem that comics have had for years now. Now it's reached the MCU. These quote unquote writers, that's a really generous liberal use of the term. They're just writing these projects. They're creating these characters just to impress their wokey colleagues. It's not for fans. It's definitely not for fans. It's certainly not to make money because the vast majority of it doesn't.
Well, yeah, Miss Marvel's not made for fans. Miss Marvel is a self-insert by these writers to get off on I'm in a comic book when they're not. This is their fan fiction.
Yeah. These evil people are so desperate to be seen as heroes that they self-insert themselves into these.
That's kind of sad when you think about it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's horrendously sad.
I actually have not even seen this trailer. When I heard the show was coming out, I was already completely checked out on it. I literally cared nothing about it. Even if the trailer would have came out and people would have been like, "Oh my God, you guys see that Miss Marvel trailer? It looks awesome! Like this is gonna be great." I still wouldn't even watch it. Literally, the only Marvel things that I have any interest in that's coming up anytime soon is Moon Knight and Doctor Strange.
I'm not even interested in Moon Knight, but Doctor Strange I'm legitimately interested in.
Yeah.
But that's because I trust the people that are on the project so far because I have precedent for that.
Yeah.
So they get that because for the most part, I don't believe any of these people deserve our benefit of the doubt at this point.
No, absolutely not.
But when creators who have that precedent set, they set a precedent of quality and respect. Sam Raimi, I mean, shit. Well, we won't talk about Spider-Man 3, but Spider-Man 1 and 2 of the Raimi movies. Like, all right, we know the man's got quality. We know he's got good vision. We fans already pretty universally like Benedict Cumberbatch as Dr. Stephen Strange. I think he does a fantastic job in the role. Okay, let's see what he does. Not a big fan of multiverses to begin with, but I love Doctor Strange. I love Wanda, and I'm getting more of them. Plus, there was that tease that we heard Xavier in the trailer, so I'm like, well, all right, well, they're the member berries. Let's see how it goes.
Plus, also, I think Raimi's going to have a little bit more freedom on this project than he did in Spider-Man 3, where he was the studio.
Well, he can't have any less at this point.
Yeah. The studio was, pretty much sticking their noses and fingers all into Spider-Man 3. So, yeah, I think Doctor Strange is going to be fairly decent, or at least there's the possibility of it at least being.
I think of all the Marvel
palatable
projects that are so far on the bench that are upcoming, it is the only one that immediately comes to mind that I think actually has strong potential to be very good.
Yeah, I agree.
I had forgotten completely about the Moon Knight show. I guess I'm not a good fan. But Phase 4 has been the worst phase, and I don't care to see a Phase 5, and I don't believe they will make it to a Phase 10. Now, apparently I have these special jinx powers, so I've just jinxed us to 10 phases of Marvel, but...
Don't do that.
I don't...
Not if it's going to be more like this. Not like this.
I apologize to everyone who suffers through a Marvel movie that I personally make happen. Sorry. I'm not that sorry. But in reality, this is going to be a really, really, really divisive show. It's going to be fun for me to watch all the people's reactions, more so than watching the show itself. Now, I am on record as saying I have not watched Hawkeye. Do I want to watch it? I'm asking you guys, is it worth watching?
You're not really missing a whole lot.
There's I'll say this. The show overall is meh. The last couple of episodes are pretty enjoyable. The only good thing throughout is the focus of Clint on his family. I think they do a really good job of that.
Yeah.
And the thing that a lot of people were worried about as far as she's going to show him up at every turn. She's going to be Billy Badass and he's going to be goofing up. No, it was actually the other way around. She's the fuck up constantly and he's having to clean up her messes. So that worry actually wound up not coming to pass. But the writing for the show just in general, it wasn't paced well. It was not paced well at all. It was very just kind of humdrum. Like I would rather watch a million other things in prior phases of the MCU over and over and over on repeat before I rewatched that. I saw it. There were a couple episodes that were good. For the most part, I think it averages out to just meh.
Yeah, it almost felt like the writers of the show just graduated writing 101, freshman year in college.
And with like a C.
Yeah.
It was not interesting. It's not
the thing that's got me worried about Moon Knight now is that all these critics are saying that it's revolutionary, it's going to change superhero movies, and it's going to change everything. When I hear crap like that, I immediately go, I don't trust any of you sorry son of a bitches that are reviewing this, that get early access and get to see the first 4 episodes. So no, you don't get to say, oh, it's going to revolutionize entertainment, it's going to revolutionize superhero movies, it's going to do all this great stuff. I want to see Oscar Isaac's in it, but besides that, I don't trust any of you sorry sons of bitches.
And let's be real here. I mean, these idiots that are part of the access media, they're doing it to continue getting their access. And on top of that, they wouldn't know innovation or good writing if it bit them in the ass twice. There is no reason to take anything critics say seriously these days.
Mm-mm. I mean, their shilling is a little less transparent, and I'd like to think we all had something to do with that. Or their shilling is a little small, less transparent. I was right the first time. Excuse me. I don't know why I second guessed. But I still get a lot of that from a lot of these critics to the point where I got to see it for myself. I got to experience, or I just got to wait until it's out for fans. Because if I'm going to go to Rotten Tomatoes, man, I'd rather look at the fan reviews once the shit's out than, like you say, early access people, because they got stuff to lose. We don't.
Yeah.
The only thing
they have their access to lose, and they don't want to lose that. So,
and that's everything these days.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Not at all.
And this show's entire existence, or rather the character's entire existence, just hammers home and strikes a nerve with me anyway. Because I've gone on record and said this before. I was actually a huge Carol Danvers fan up until 2012 when they rebooted her as Captain Marvel, and it would have annoyed me if they had still rebranded her, but if they had kept her character, like who she was, what made her interesting, what made her unique, what made her actually a dynamic character, because she had a character arc, she learned, she made mistakes, she grew past them, all these interesting things that make for good character writing, something important and something that's been completely lost these days. They threw that all out and said, okay, well, now she's got Marvel's old name, his suit, basically, and now she's just a raging bitch. And she's more powerful now. Oh, well, that makes everything better.
Andrew, how much would you pay to see the Rogue from the early X-Men movies zap her bitch ass into unconsciousness and say, now it's time for a real woman to go to work?
Yeah, there's just one problem with that. There's just one problem with that, Loki. That wasn't Rogue.
I know, but
however, I see what you're getting at. I see what you're getting at, and I'd be here for it only insofar as Brie Larson's Captain Marvel's existence irritates me more than that version of
not Rogue.
Yeah, than that not Rogue. Look, I'll prove it right now. I am a Carol Danvers Miss Marvel fan. These are all hardcover. I paid good money for these. This is the entire Brian Reed run of Miss Marvel. This is fantastic front to back. Highly encourage anybody who actually wants to end up liking that character, pick up this. It's actually good writing.
See, and it must piss you off even more to have the character that you formerly liked be a joke. be whatever
I hate
it is now.
I absolutely hate it. I would have been fine if they had, like I said, rebranded her as Captain Marvel. Okay, fine, whatever. But like, they would have had to write it better because the reasoning for it made no sense whatsoever. Fine, give her the suit. I'd still prefer her Warbird / Miss Marvel suit, but that's because toxic male. And just keep her character intact. And then she would have if they had done that, she would have naturally had a progression arc to be at the forefront of Marvel. All on her own. I promise you that would have happened. Because
they couldn't wait.
They could have just pushed her a little more into the public eye, but keep her character the way that her following, which was not huge, she's not Spider-Man, obviously, but she had a strong following. I was one of them. More people would have gravitated to her. More people would have had eyes on her. And then she would have naturally, this would have been an organic push, an organic growth to more prevalence. But nope. It's way easier, apparently, even though it makes no damn sense, to rip away everything that made the character interesting and likable, make her exactly the opposite, and then just like give her more powers and then start giving her things that make no sense whatsoever. Like she went to, she went to Enchantress at one point in the last year or two. It was like, I need you to teach me magic. Like, the fuck you have any business doing here right now?
It's like they're throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks with this character because the name Marvel is in it, branding, whatever their identity they want to use. And I bid you adieu, Marvel, because you had to rebrand your your movie, Captain Marvel 2 as The Marvel. So we'll use this as our closing out point on Miss Marvel. But like, we better get used to her because she's going to be in the sequel to Captain Marvel, which is going to be, is that going to be the first $1 trillion picture, folks? Tell me in the chat. I'm going to go. Well, I don't know if Disney can actually fix the box office this time, if they did. But I'm gobsmacked that this is. I don't know. I don't really see a lot of people getting excited for it, so I guess I'm happy that people are saying these days. But I'm there. I'm bored for Doctor Strange. I don't really have any interest in anything else Marvel this year. I guess I'll give Moon Knight a shot.
I'm a Moon Knight fan, and I like what I've seen from it so far. So I'm definitely curious and gonna give it a shot. I hope it doesn't suck, but if it does, I mean, I'll be the first to say, hey, this isn't very good.
Now, Nick, if I want to jump in to read some Moon Knight, where would I start? Where should I start?
So I back in the day, I did the Mark Spector series that came out, and it was a 60-issue run, and those are the ones I grew up reading. So that's what I would get, and I'm sure they probably got a graphic novel with all 60 issues in it, where you can just buy one book that's got them all in it. But it's the Mark Spector series. It's a 60-issue run.
I took notes down. Actually, I'm going to check that out because the only Moon Knight thing I own is I got a Walgreens exclusive Marvel Legends figure from my buddy, and other than that, I don't know anything about Moon Knight. So I want to give it a shot, and I want to read about it at least, because I read I was up on Doctor Strange before the movie came out, but the lead up to it, I did go back and read a lot of the old Ditko stuff just to get invested. I feel like Marvel missed their window over a decade ago. If they should have done this back in the day with the Spider-Man movies, but they should have encouraged people to go back and read these books before the movies come out. Like you would get you should get a commercial that says, and go to your local comic book shop and check out these great Marvel titles, and then just have, like, let's say Spider-Man No Way Home's coming out, and you got all the graphic novels of like Kraven's Last Hunt, Marvel Masterworks collection, something with Venom and something else. Like, put that out for every movie. You're like,
they did no pushing or promotion for the books whatsoever.
Yeah, Marvel Comics is in the trash.
That was such a bad decision. It baffles me why they wouldn't use it. That's easy cross promotion marketing.
Yeah,
it's your own shit. Market it, sell it.
No,
what the hell? Why not?
Yeah, it's like, do you like money?
What's the matter matter with you? It makes no damn sense.
Now, our friend TLJ Screwjob, thank you very much for your generous super chat. He says, anyone, let alone Kamala Khan, who makes me hate being from New Jersey, being a fan of MCU Carol makes no sense, as Wolf said. Makes more sense for Luke to smile at Hayden Anakin at the end of Return of the Jedi.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Not wrong.
It does break illusion when you have to ask that question, because they like to give us so much of this world, and they like to give us so much of it documented a certain way that you do question when something is not answered explicitly. You kind of do wonder what's up, because is Kamala Khan getting like news broadcasts from other planets and alien languages? Is she part Skrull? Is that how she's a fan of Captain Marvel? She gets her exploits beamed directly into her head? Because on Earth, when you got Iron Man and you got other events going on in the world that are going to get more recognition, what has she done? Like you said, man, I don't want to reiterate the point again, but she showed up in like 1995 is when Captain Marvel took place, and then she fucked off into space at the end of the movie, and she's nowhere to be seen until 2018 or 19, excuse me. So 3 years removed from Endgame. Shit. Like, what exploit? What are you excited for, kid? Did you read a comic book about her? Like, is that it? It's all fan service deconstruction. And my final point is, you can't get behind a superhero if there's nothing to aspire to when they look up to a shitty hero. It's like hero worship doesn't beget hero worship. It gets a different type of fandom. And that's why Captain Marvel or Miss Marvel or Squirrel Girl are all seen in the same kind of sphere as these Marvel characters, but we don't really respect them, and we're kind of going to push them out to the side type of thing.
Yep. That's why the shit doesn't sell.
Oh. Thank you, though, very much, TLJ Screwjob. So, actually, we're going to read all of these, not all of them right now, but we're going to check in with the audience. Loki, do me a favor. Pick a number between 1 and 69.
You want me to tell you the number, or just pick one?
Yeah. Tell me the number.
69.
Oh, perfect. Well, see, what we're going to do is we're going to press a button, but since you picked 69, that's awesome, because we do have a 69 button.
Excellent!
All right.
I love that movie. Now, let's check in with the audience to see what's up, to see what you guys think about the Miss Marvel trailer, which... Yay, it's here. As you can see, our title card. So up first, we have our friend Shrebels08, who says he has the word of the day lined up. So YouTube, let me read this message. Thank you. I just love when they know we're on air, so they want to slow it down. But SA Shrebels08 says, the word of the day is doppelbanger. Star Wars, the last doppelbanger. How Stella got her doppelbanger back, and back to the doppelbanger. So I gotta... make sure I know what I can guess what a doppelbanger is, but I gotta make sure I know 100%. Okay, so a doppelbanger or a double walker, someone who looks spookily like you but isn't a twin, is a doppelganger. Wait, no, I want doppelbanger. Oh, okay. Someone who is attracted to people who are similar to them in terms of aesthetics or physical features. Okay, that's what I thought. So you're attracted to yourself.
That's kind of creepy.
Yeah, doppelbanger's like
gross.
Daisy Ridley and a doppelbanger. That'd be something else. That forehead. Joseph Bienwich, thank you very much. He says doppelbanger. Oh, wow. I wish I would have fucking read the next super chat. Doppelbanger, a sexual deviant version of oneself. Tendencies tend to be extra kinky. Be in Dion's case, he who runs from horses and mannequins upon them. So if you don't know, my friend Dion is afraid of horses and mannequins. And yes, I mean afraid. Very afraid. And
so if he woke up with a horse head next to him, he'd freak out. Dude,
you know the scene in The Godfather where the guy screams, right?
Yeah.
Dion would just have a fucking heart attack.
That bad.
Well, we were in New Orleans a couple years ago, and we were walking. We weren't on Bourbon Street, but we were in the area, and there were mules pulling a cart, and he crossed the street, and I went, dude, that's not a horse. And he looks at me in the eye and goes, that's close enough.
Did he get trampled by horses when he was a kid or something? Like, where's that phobia come from?
You're gonna laugh.
All
His
right.
phobia of horses comes from the fact that one paralyzed Christopher Reeve.
That's it?
Yeah, it paralyzed Superman.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, people die in car crashes every day. Does he not get in cars?
Well, he's a big Superman fan, so he knows that even though, according to statistics, it's not that safe, he's still going to do it. That's a stupid line from the first and Superman Returns about air travel being statistically safer.
Interesting.
Yeah. Thank you, though, Joseph Bianowicz. Matt G, thank you very much, says, Amaranth is better than Frost. Deal with it, Mary Mayhem. You have to take Amaranth's side over Frost, LOL. This is the greatest bacon burn ever. Thoughts across America.
I agree with that statement. Amaranth is better than Frost.
Yes.
Mary is not here tonight because one of the ladies that her family takes care of had to be rushed to the emergency room. So she is stuck there right now.
Yeah, she had messaged me. I was like, Mary, always take care of real life stuff. But Mary's still helping out. She's been sharing the link and stuff. So, Mary, if you hear this, thank you. Appreciate you. Cesario Japan or Caesar Jorpin says, so for the High Council, let's see a Joe Rogan motorcycle button that hasn't been pressed yet and a creepy Mr. Ed horse button. Well, Cesario Japan, thank you very much. You have not received any motorcycle buttons this week. But in keeping up with the theme of what we're about to talk about next, let's press this one.
Keep on that one. I'll take these two. Oh my gosh!
Oh, that hurt.
That was good. That was good.
Yeah, that's a popular. Okay, so the buttons are fun. The Joe Rogan buttons took off way more than I thought they ever would. And so everyone asked me to put this clip of a guy who stole a motorcycle. So for context, no, we're not laughing at an injured motorist who was accidentally, hit. This guy stole a motorcycle and was on the run from the cops and wrecked into a car. So we kind of laughed at the fact that, hey, whatever. But everybody wants this button. Everybody wanted us to have that. So there you go. Asking ye shall receive here at World Class Bullshitters.
And there he goes, right into our residential neighborhood.
I like that. Very Robin Leach.
Oh, yeah. I love that. I love that guy.
Only in the 80s can you get Lifestyles of the Rich and the Famous. The decade of excess. Oh,
yeah.
I love that show, though. To any wrestling fans out there, have you seen the one with Ted DiBiase? Also, too, since we mentioned this off air, RIP to Scott Hall, who's passed away.
Yes.
Yeah.
Loki, you brought up, we both own WWE 2K22, the NWO edition. We got that last week, assuming you did too. And
yes.
I said to you guys off air, it's really sad when anyone passes away, obviously, but Scott Hall had gotten his life clean and he had his DDP yoga stuff 8 years ago. So we kind of thought Scott Hall had kind of gotten fixed, but all these medical issues continued to plague him. So RIP to the bad guy, one of the
and
all-time
hip surgery. You wouldn't think someone would go down from hip surgery. It was hip surgery.
As I understand it, he wound up having a blood clot.
Yes.
From the
as
surgery.
a result from that,
Yeah.
and then that just traveled, and that freaking sucks.
And I watched a crap ton of Scott Hall stuff last night after the news broke, just kind of in remembrance of him and going back to the old Monday Night Wars with NWO and all that, which was, in my opinion, the best time for wrestling in the history of wrestling.
Agreed.
But I did not know that DDP is the one that came up with the toothpick toss into the camera for Scott Hall.
Oh, neither did I.
I didn't. So I'm. If you guys don't know that, the story is they were at a Waffle House, and after a show, late one night, DDP went and grabbed 2 toothpicks for him. They were walking, and he was talking about it, and he came up with the idea and told Scott. And so when they were doing a promo, they were both supposed to do it, but DDP's toothpick fell out of his mouth and Scott Hall's didn't. So he was the solo one that did it. And then that kind of became his thing. And that's where it all started. But the idea came from Diamond Dallas Page.
I love wrestling stories. Here's a picture of Scott Hall. DDP's done more good for wrestling than anybody gives him enough credit for. I mean,
yeah, definitely.
DDP Yoga saved so many people's lives. I mean, this is a guy that had come back from rock bottom after the DDP Yoga program. I mean, we were all impressed back in 2014 when Scott Hall showed up at the Hall of Fame. Clear, cogent, everything was cool, man. But
yeah.
It's what would you say his greatest wrestling match or just achievement in general is to pro wrestling?
I don't know if this would be his greatest, but the thing that comes to mind for me is he's the one that broke Goldberg's record.
Yeah, he is.
And that's the thing at Halloween Havoc, and that's like when I think of Scott Hall, that's like one of the first things I think of personally is that moment that he broke that Goldberg streak.
Immediately to me, what comes to mind, I was at Bash at the Beach in '96.
What?
And, oh yeah. Because, dude, I love these guys. When I saw them, I can't remember where I was. I know I was on a trip, but I turn on the TV and I see Scott Hall and Kevin Nash sitting in the seats at a WWF event. And I'm like, or at a WCW event. I'm like, what in the hell is going on? How is Razor Ramon and Diesel at a WCW event? And then it was the takeover. And it was the outsiders invading WCW. And I mean, at the time, I was really thinking WWF sent these two guys over to WCW. I bought it hook, line, and sinker. I had to be there for the match. And when Hogan came out, I knew. I don't know anybody else who knew at the time, but I immediately knew he's the third guy. He's got to be the third guy. And it was nuts. It was absolutely positively nuts. And the energy when you go to a wrestling event, because I used to go to Astrodome all the time. It's for WCW, Monday Night Nitro, from WWF. Anytime they were at the Astrodome, I would go, and there's this energy. The energy that night at Bash at the Beach was 10 times anything I've experienced ever at a wrestling event. It was absolutely insane, and people were pissed when Hogan turned heel.
Now, you brought up the Astrodome. You weren't at WrestleMania 17, were you?
No.
Oh, I was about to be so jealous.
No, I didn't get to go to WrestleMania 17. But anytime WCW or WWF came to Houston and I could go, I would go. I loved it. And it was mainly the energy of the crowd and everybody there. I love seeing Rowdy Piper. The last time I got to see Rowdy Piper was at Monday Night Nitro at the Astrodome. And I actually had a Piper for President sign that got on TV. I was going nuts. And it's people like that, people like Scott Hall, people like Roddy Piper, all the people you never forget that made wrestling what it is today.
Hell yeah, dude. Roddy Piper was one of the nicest people you meet in person, too.
Yes.
My aunt is in a wheelchair, and he fucking stopped, he had a line of people, we were in line to get autographs at a horror show for They Live and stuff. Stops, come over, shakes her hand, hugs her, all this crap, spends time with her. Jamie Lee Curtis was like that too, but you can get these guys that are just genuinely good people, and they tend to play some of the bad guys, which is, kind of funny when you look at it like that.
It is, and it's the bad guys that you love. It's the bad guys you really love.
Yeah, I loved Black and White Hollywood Hogan. I loved it.
Heavy Metal Lion, I'm so jealous that you were at WrestleMania 17. I was in Ohio watching it on my TV. It was an old Zenith television. We had DirecTV, and we bought WrestleMania. And I copied it on tape. And I watched that shit every day. Months. Oh, my God. I watched WrestleMania 17 like it was going out of style. It took 2 tapes because I had it on the version that... Back in the day when you recorded shit on VCRs, if you didn't have the right setting, for those who've never used one before, you would use up all your tape, or basically your tape could last 2 hours or 6 hours. And I usually recorded on 2 hours because you got better tape quality. But thankfully we don't have those problems anymore. God, I feel old talking like that.
My buddy and I went to I forget which number it was. It was the last one that was in Santa Clara, in California. So, what was it, like 2015 maybe? something like that. We were there the night before, like when they had NXT, was all super cool. Getting to meet some of those superstars and women's wrestlers was pretty cool. Got to walk up to Wade Barrett and tell him he's about to have some bad news.
I'm surprised we didn't run into each other. I flew with Becky Lynch on that trip, so that was an interesting.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, because the thing is, we were on a flight, and I was talking to some guy about wrestling, and then this woman says, "What do you think about Becky Lynch?" and starts talking to us, and it was her, and I didn't realize it till we got off the plane. And my friend's like, "Yeah, that was Becky Lynch, the wrestler," and there's Charlotte Flair, and there's what's her name, Sasha Banks, all these other ones. I'm like, oh, it's a plane full of wrestlers. Shit, I didn't even realize it. I felt like an asshole. But whatever.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah, folks, if you have not had a chance to check out Scott Hall's work, do so. He's one of the most important people in wrestling of the modern era. It's not an exaggeration. The NWO changed the game. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have the Monday Night Wars that turned into the Attitude Era, which turned into the best moment in the history of professional wrestling, which gave us wonderful stars like The Rock, Stone Cold, Triple H, Mankind, Undertaker, and Undertaker was around for a minute, but you know what I mean. Undertaker was Ministry of Darkness Taker the best? Tell me in the chat. I don't know.
Yeah, honestly, if you don't get Stone Cold Steve Austin, you don't get The Rock, then I don't know. You don't have wrestling today.
No. Now, what we do have is a new guest. Say hello to our friend Script Doctor. What is up, man?
Hello.
Yeah,
Hey.
Script.
Thank you very much for the invite tonight, gentlemen.
Hello.
Well, it's great to have you.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Lots of weirdness going on in some announcements today with Star Wars and Marvel, I see.
Yeah.
That's an understatement.
Now, before we jump into anything new, would you like to give your thoughts on the Miss Marvel trailer? Did you enjoy it?
I don't know what tone they were going for, and I feel very sorry for the lead actress because this is her big break, and I don't think people are going to be too kind with her, which is unfortunate because I don't think a new actor talent deserves that type of reception.
I agree, especially with being a kid.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is her first role. She doesn't really have much of any experience performing. I hope she's able to do well with the role, but I don't think she's got the support system, and by that I mean like the writing and directing and the whole methodology of what this character is supposed to be, because I don't think it's a very good character from the comics. It's essentially just Mr. Fantastic, and I think she flies on top of that.
Oh, she flies now?
I think so.
Oh, they fly now.
Yeah, pretty much. But it feels like it doesn't have a proper tone, because I'm like, is this like a Jason Reitman independent film take on a Marvel movie type of thing, or are they trying to do Sony Classics movies? If you haven't seen some of the lower tier stuff, they go into this kind of kooky, weird teenage thing with some of their films, and it just felt like I don't quite understand the tone. It appears that they've reworked the character so that she's kind of like a Green Lantern-esque version of her. Powers come from a bracelet, it appears to be. But I mean, I want to give things a chance and let them rest on their own merits. But it's just this opening of the call to action, so to speak, does not make me want to rally behind it for support, unfortunately.
How much you want to bet we're going to be seeing thousands of those bracelets at Walmart? Every Walmart you go into, there'll be a whole line of shelves.
Oh yeah, they'll be on
those
clearance
bracelets.
too, just like the freaking Ray Palpatine figures still are.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you even have that terrible line in the trailer where they say, like, obviously the ethnicity aspect. And I have to keep on reminding other people, it's like, North America was not the only country that ever created superheroes or heroic characters in their culture. Like, every culture has them. In fact, before superheroes, cultures created gods that they would, not so much worship, but gods that did this, like in Greek and Roman culture, like they did that. And in Southeast Asian cultures, they did that as well. It's like people don't, I mean, it's a common aspect we find over the past few years. It seems like the history started for most of the world, like in 2001, like nothing ever existed before that. It's very peculiar that even such a claim would be made.
One thing I forgot to mention today in my video, at any talking points in time, Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, was the face of that Avengers video game, which was a couple $100 million investment.
Don't
Shit,
remind
I
me.
constantly forget that game exists because I played it. I got it for free when I was a GameStop manager. Played it twice, and then I just forgot it existed because I don't know. I had better things to do, like walk.
You played
a hamster.
Marvel Heroes instead. Remember that game?
Yeah.
I'd rather go back and play freaking the first Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
Yes.
X-Men Legends.
Yeah. Ultimate Alliance. Yeah, that
X-Men
game was
Legends
awesome.
and Ultimate Alliance. Yes.
You guys remember that weird Marvel game? It came out, I think, 2005. It was called Marvel Fighters: Rise of the Imperfects. It was like a weird.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember that
it had
title, yeah.
Spider-Man, the Thing on the cover, Wolverine. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that was just.
Wasn't that an Xbox Connect game? Or
It was on the original Xbox and PlayStation 2 and PSP. I just googled it real
It's on
quick.
GameCube too.
Remember.
It was on
Yeah.
GameCube too.
There were a bunch of really shitty Marvel games that came out in like a 6-year period. And then there were the few gems like the Ultimate Alliance and the X-Men Legends games.
You see Punisher get taken out at the beginning. And Captain America's shield sitting on the top of the building like he's been blasted away or something. Yeah, I remember that.
At least they were going with something different looking. Like, I remember this game coming out going, what is this? And
Very stylized in terms
Yeah.
of the art.
What's dark too, because half the heroes get killed before the game even starts. Hulk gets taken down, Punisher gets taken down, Cap gets taken down. All these superheroes get taken out in the initial invasion.
Well, Marvel, you should take more chances with your brand because you're kind of... Well, I was on 3POA podcast 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 now. I forgot exactly. But Bobby was talking about how Hasbro budgets out their line with the Marvel stuff and how the characters, they break it down like that, and how their brand doesn't take risks like other people's brands, like the WWE with Mattel. And it kind of shows with Marvel because everything is, I don't want to say generic and samey, but it's very safe. Like, they know where they want to go and they won't really deviate from the course. Now you can say, well, isn't that smart because they know what they're doing? Do they, though? This isn't one of the cases where they know what they're doing fully. And I use the game as an example where they will put their money there. They will put $100 million into this game, sell us that it's just the Avengers, and then when we get it, it's her. That's the world's biggest honey dick in the digital world, or the digital age. So,
and to be fair, Kamala Khan was probably the most tolerable that she's ever been in that game. She wasn't like this heinous, just ostensibly unlikable little twat. She just wasn't particularly interesting.
I just, Andrew, when you buy a game, this is the point I want to get at. Everything is branding these days. Branding. Well, if I buy the brand name thing, I kind of want what's synonymous with the brand. So when I buy a game called Marvel's Avengers, Kamala Khan is not an Avenger, and she's not even a recognizable Marvel character.
Nope.
Really, all I want is, if you're going to make me an Avengers video game, just have it full of Marvel characters that people like, people know, and make it good. Like, let me rephrase that because it's such a broad phrase. Make it an enjoyable experience with good gameplay and isn't worried about microtransactions.
It took them how long to add Spider-Man to it, and he's only available on the PlayStation?
Years, dude. It
took them like a year and a half. What the hell are you talking about? You're doing a Marvel game and you don't have Spidey?
Yep. I mean, that's why I like my favorite game, which unfortunately was online only, was Marvel Heroes, and then they had the Omega part. And the brilliance of that is you could buy things through points in game as opposed to spending real cash. Like, that's the thing. The more you played it, you'd unlock other characters. And you had almost every character Marvel ever used that you could play. And it was cool. It was multiplayer. It was such a great game. And then they just shut it down so that they could do Marvel's The Avengers with Miss Marvel and a bunch of other little lesser things. And I was like, oh, that's unfortunate. I don't really want. I like playing on PC more than console personally, but yeah. And then you see all those cutscenes. Like I remember the advertising for it. Did they make Kamala Khan quote a line from Captain America that nobody else heard in the world except for Cap and the few people he said it to?
Yeah, like just the kid from Brooklyn line.
Yeah, no, not the kid from Brooklyn line. The when your back is against the wall, you hold the line and say no, that type of thing. Because that was
stand.
Right?
Yeah, your role is to be a tree by the river of truth, and when the world says move, you say no, you move.
She did say that.
Yeah, she ripped Cap's line. I forgot about that. The only two people that know that line are Cap and Spidey, because that's who he said it to.
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember.
You should know that.
I remember. I think I was because I streamed my first couple of hours of that game, and when she said that, my chat was just like, "Oh no." I was doing one of those things, you make a face out loud. I was doing that. I was like, they didn't really just do that, did they?
Well, she's the key to everything. She's the key to bringing back the Avengers. She's the key to saving the planet. Save Kamala, save the world.
Even Heroes ruined that storyline. And I'm talking about like the show Heroes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I understood that reference.
Okay, good.
That show started off great, but then it sucked.
Research. Oh, good. Sorry. Script.
Oh, sorry. No. Go ahead, sir.
All I was gonna say is in research for the comments and stuff I made about Miss Marvel, the trailer today, I found like a webtoon and some. I guess it's like a Marvel Disney Plus exclusive show. And it was really difficult to watch, not because I'm ethically opposed to whatever. It's just I can watch a superhero show from before my time in the 60s. I can watch one from my time in the 90s, and I can watch one past my time in the the late 2000s and stuff when I'm an adult in college. I was always on board and still am on board for superhero adventures, but they got weird now. Like they're not like. Remember when you would have like the Avengers in the one cartoon, they go off on a mission and do all this crazy stuff? Marvel cartoons now, they just kind of stand around and talk and like break the fourth wall. It's like, what is this? I don't even know what their brand is at a different level these days. Have you guys ever seen any of this shit?
I can point it directly. So after Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes cartoon ended, they did kind of a pseudo follow-up with another Avengers cartoon, and one of the conflicts was Falcon's grandmother's home-baked cookies that he brought to the team. And I'm not joking; like that is in one of the earlier episodes. It's a point of contention.
It's like a current Marvel Comics writer wrote that, where these jerk-offs don't know how to do anything but write characters eating,
talking and eating, and blowing up in basically. Not real trauma is like, my parents did this, I'm so traumatized by it. It's like, okay, so your folks got a divorce, that's unfortunate. It's not really a traumatic thing unless the reason they got the divorce is your one of your parents blew up a city and all of your friends were killed as a result of that, in which case the divorce is kind of negligible to that bigger escalation. There's no concept of scales or priorities when it comes to some of those types of storylines, because I think the fact of the matter is that the experiences and the education of the majority of writers handling these IPs is infinitesimal compared to the people, the titans that built up these characters and presented them to the world to begin with.
Yeah, when you've got a superhero that goes and stabs a store clerk in the eye with a pencil or whatever the hell she had because she found a plastic bag out by the beach that had this store location on the plastic bag, you start to wonder what in the hell were you thinking when you wrote this?
I see that and I'm like, this character is a villain.
Yeah. It is a villain, and on top
I'm looking
of that,
at a bad guy right now.
It's a stupid villain because they don't even go after the source of the problem, which is the person who littered, not the manufacturer of the bag or the store owner of the bags. Like, it's not their fault that their bag goes out there. It's the person who it was given to, that their responsibility. And the very concept of them not understanding what responsibility is very telling with regards to the direction these characters have been taking in the comics and in other medium forms over the last decade or so.
Sorry, you cut out for me on the last part. Can you repeat just the last part?
Oh, yeah. So the lack of the writers understanding responsibility and, the sourcing of problems that they want to address with their stories it explains why the direction for some of the characters in comics and in media doesn't really seem to have any sort of goal or anything of that nature. Like you can take a look at something like a few seasons of Arrow where they have a bad guy who's like he's a hacktivist or something, and they're like, we got to stop him. And the question is, okay, well, why do you have to stop him? What is he doing that's bad? Like, can you identify what it is that's bad? And you never get that answered. It's just he's the bad guy because we tell you he's the bad guy, so we have to stop them. And that's the type of writing that's kind of ruining the media. It's like they don't understand like the motivations of the enemy. They just know that because they're an enemy, we identify you as an enemy, we have to stop you. And that kind of robs the agency of the enemy and also the danger of the enemies. Like, you know, you want to stop Lex Luthor because, say, he wants to kill Superman and take over the world and market kryptonite power plants throughout the United States, which would poison people. Like, okay, he gains profit and he has this power. Superman has to stop him because he doesn't want, you know, all these innocent people harmed, and it's going to be difficult because Superman's using kryptonite. Like, that's a very cognitive story to tell. But you get something like, say, what Loki just said of, like, you know, a superhero stabbing a store clerk in the eye because of a plastic bag. Where's the connective tissue of what's really evil there? Like, they just don't reconcile at all. Like, one person clearly understands motivation and character, and the other person only understands a cause. I hope I didn't cut out any more on that.
No,
I
made it.
I seem to be having a little bit of internet issue here. My latency just dropped huge.
Perfect there. It reminds me of a problem that I talk about all the time where writers, artists, whatever, the best art comes from life experience. Like the people that have the most life experiences make the most interesting stuff. And I don't think enough writers have enough life experience to create things anymore because we don't really live or do. Yeah, a lot of our life is in the digital age and the digital front. That's great. That's not a problem. But still, if you're going to go out there and create work, you need to have a much wider well to draw from. You're a storyteller. You not everybody gets to be a storyteller. Not everyone gets to do it. So those who do should have the tools and the equipment. And the modern day comic book writer does not. I'm not saying you need to be a journeyman and work in 12 publications before you ever get your first Marvel assignment. No. I mean, a lot of great people got their first job ever at a comic book company because it's seen as a lower place on the totem pole and worked their way up. But the people in the company gave a shit. I get that your directive has always been to make money, but does it hurt to tell cool stories that get us excited? Because I thought you'd make more if you were, you know.
Well, those two things aren't mutually exclusive, right? I mean, you can do both. And it's proven in the past to do both. When they write good stories and good characters within those stories that people can latch onto, they sell more copies.
Yeah, print demand goes up.
And today, no one dare tell a woman you've got to start at the bottom and work your way up. That's another problem. You're immediately an Biatsi, whatever, and you need to be replaced because,
no, she's executive vice president right off the bat, straight out of college.
Yep.
Which is dangerous.
Because she took a gender studies class, she is now in charge of this division of the company when she should have had to have been start from the bottom. You start at the bottom just like everybody else does and work your way up.
Yeah, this doesn't know Thanos from Eclipso, but never mind that. She's going to be head of the entire department.
Yeah, because it's kind of the antithesis of what was going on in the 80s and early 90s where people would be straight out of college and like they wouldn't be getting jobs because they don't have experience. Now it's like, well, you don't have zero experience, so we're going to give you this high executive job. And you're just kind of baffled by it, especially considering the fact that since 2007, at least in some of the bigger universities and Ivy League colleges, they started teaching various courses that's supposed to give you quote unquote experience within the field you want to work by way of like kind of like role playing, if my understanding is correct. And I'm like, that maybe prime you with like teamwork relations, but it doesn't prime you enough for actual real world concepts because you need the consequence and the risk of failure in order for you to really, really learn. Like if you do it in too safe an environment, that's going to inhibit your ability to make proper choices because you're not going to understand the level of severity if you fail. And if you do fail and you overreact to that, you're never going to be able to work in that field again because people are like, yeah, we screwed up. We lost sales or we lost an edge. And this college kid just started screaming. This college graduate started screaming for hours and then locked themselves in their room. And then we couldn't reach them for like 3 weeks. It's like you can't have a personality like that. You have to have them. That's why it's valuable to kind of start from the bottom, or if you have certain skills that and talent that make you maybe another step or two above the bottom. Exactly. Like instead of the mailroom, you're like, okay, I'm now in the office as an assistant or a secretary or something like that. You can't just go ahead and give them these positions or make up positions like, diversity and initiative director. Like, I don't know what that is.
Nor do I.
Yeah. And it reminds me of like more human resources. Like, I don't even understand human resources. Like, how do you become a human resources manager? It's like, the name of the title does not properly convey the definition of what that job actually is.
It's just, I would call it how not to get sued at a corporate level, but whatever.
Yeah, basically it's like, a buffer between lawyers and the company.
Glad I don't have to deal with any of that.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. Now, folks, let's get caught up with some of you guys, and then we're going to start talking about some Star Wars topics, because that's what people are here to talk about. Hear us talk about. I'm excited to talk about it for once in a while. I got to say, it started back a couple of weeks ago. I was on a plane to Richmond, and I watched Star Wars because I had never seen Star Wars on a plane. Any place I go that shows a movie, for some reason I feel like Star Wars should always be up there, because you see screenings of Ghostbusters or Back to the Future, but Star Wars is that rare occasion. Yeah, maybe it makes it more special, but I saw it on the plane, I got excited, and I watched it, and it just brought me back. Yes, it was the McClunky edition. Yeah, that kind of pissed me off. Okay, a lot pissed me off, but it was still Star Wars, and I thought to myself, maybe I need to go back and see what's up with Star Wars to see if there's anything worth saving. Clearly there's not, but there's a lot of stuff worth talking about, so just keep on listening, folks. Our friend Cesario Japan, thank you very much for your last one, but I do still owe you a creepy Mr. Ed button, so let me press that so we can move on to the next one. Sorry, folks, for those who are afraid of the cringe.
Who are you? What are you doing here, and where are my horses?
Yeah, not settling, right? Also, our friend SH Rebels 08 sent in a super chat that reads, I'll take a Dookie and a Star Wars 1977 motorcycle, please. So we're going to have to talk over the motorcycle a little bit, because we did get a copy claim on what I consider our best button, but I got to find a way to alter it a little bit so we can let it play. But,
really?
Yeah, it did. The music was just too much, I guess. So let me play this one, and then I'll fix it, or at least try to.
What's that smell?
I don't think I've seen that in 30 years. Jesus.
So,
Fucking no holds barred.
Rip. That was his name, wasn't it? Rip.
Yep. Rip him.
Rip
The
him.
fingers thing. Oh, God. I caught that movie on syndication as a kid, and I didn't know Hulk Hogan had made a movie. And like, I watched it, I got excited. I'm like, why is he not Hulk Hogan? This is the WWF. That's Mean Gene Okerlund. It was such a. Why didn't they just call him Hulk Hogan in the fucking movie and make it a WWF film? I think it would have made more money that way.
probably.
All right, so here's your button, and I'm going to talk ever so gently over it.
Commence primary ignition.
Okay, so maybe the AI will not understand the music right here. We're going to hope. Uh-oh, here he goes.
Have you now?
Got him!
There he is.
Look out!
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes, jackass.
It's hard to feel simpy for that guy. But thank you, SH Rebels 08. TLJ Screwjob, thank you for your generous $10 super chat. He says, anyone, let alone Kamala Khan, who makes me hate... Oh, wait, I read that one. Sorry. But TLJ Screwjob, thank you very much again. Adam Wofford, we did not read yours. He says, is there a Marvel character that has the same powers as Green Lantern? Why did they not use Dust from the Young X-Men? That's why, because of Uncle Ethan.
Yep.
It's messed up. I would rather pay Ethan royalties and just pay the dude his money and use the good characters. Stop this personal whatever shit people do. Swallow your pride and adapt the best stuff. It's
I
in
think
your.
even Quasar has like cosmic bands that do constructs too, doesn't he? He was part of the Avengers for a while.
Yeah,
Is it true you wouldn't even have to send Ethan cash? You just send him pies. Just send him some pies and everything's
Yeah, I'm sure
cool.
he'd take that.
well, yesterday was National Pie Day, so I personally didn't have any pie. I just
He's
forgot.
probably comatose still right now.
He is. I called him. You got a dead. It was just a dead nothing. Dead, silence. I know that's what's the signal at the household when he's out. Just
Yep.
Did you
cold.
call EBS yesterday?
Yeah, I
on
needed,
National Pie Day.
Yeah, of course I called him on National Pie Day to make sure. I was just really checking in, is what I was doing. So, Adam Walford, thank you very much, though. For those old enough to remember, right after the Return of the Jedi, there were cheap fantasy and sci-fi movies in the mid and late 80s. A lot of good and a lot of there's a lot of good fantasy movies in the 80s and a lot of fantasy movies that we tell ourselves were better than they really were from the 80s. Same with sci-fi. There's a lot of great sci-fi from the 80s and a lot of sci-fi that we tell ourselves was a lot better.
Yeah.
Any guilty pleasures from the 80s? In terms of
None that
sci-fi
come
or,
immediately to
fantasy?
mind.
Well, yeah, some of the ones I like are pretty good, like Last Starfighter, Black Hole.
Yeah.
I love Last Starfighter.
Yeah.
A lot of video games. A lot of kick-ass video games in the 80s I love.
Yeah, I can't really think of a 80s sci-fi movie that I liked that wasn't good.
Nope.
I mean, I just can't think of one.
What was the horror movie? It had Robert Englund and Joni from Happy Days, and I think Sid Haig was in it too. It was
like
a
Nightmare on
sci-fi.
Elm Street 3?
I wish it was a Nightmare on Elm Street 3. I love that movie. That no guilty pleasure required. But there was one in the 80s. It's got that cast. If somebody can tell me in the chat based off of who I talked about, what that movie would be, that's one of those sci-fi movies. It's definitely schlocky fun. It's Forbidden Planet. That's not Forbidden Planet.
No, Forbidden Planet is Leslie Nielsen. Well, I mean, Robert Englund was also in V the series, or in V the miniseries, and then V the series. But I'm trying to think of another science fiction thing he might have been in. That's a good question. Yeah.
Aaron Moran. Okay. Galaxy of Terror, 1981.
Oh,
that's the movie I'm talking about.
I haven't seen that movie in probably over 20 years.
Same.
Yeah, Robert Englund, Sid Haig, and Aaron Moran. That's all I can remember. I don't remember Edward Albert. I don't really know that guy. But folks, if you haven't seen that movie, check it out. It's pretty fucking fun. It's schlocky. It's a guilty pleasure movie. Let's start talking about Star Wars, shall we? So, the Star Wars Vacation is not performing well. Did you guys see the articles that popped up yesterday?
Imagine.
Nick, Echo Base Network, how excited are you to go to the Galactic Starcruiser for $6,000?
Zero excited. I would not even. So after seeing it, like if Disney said, "Hey, we're paying for your airfare, everything's covered. We want you to come down here and review this hotel, for your channel, try to get the word out, that sort of thing," I wouldn't even waste my time. I wouldn't even go for free if it was all paid for. It's all based around sequel trilogy stuff. You're locked in a prison cell, and you're ordered around the whole entire 2 days on what to do, where to go, when you can eat. It's basically Star Wars Disney prison. And I have no interest in going down there, being told what to do, and live in a jail cell.
Yeah, it's just they've said it's akin to being in an underground bunker.
Yeah. So essentially, your room is less spacious than the cell that Princess Leia had on the Death Star. Is that my understanding?
They're about
pretty comparable.
Size. Yeah,
pretty comparable.
With bunk beds, yay.
Yep.
Like, sorry, I'll save the $6,000 and I'll just enjoy reading or listening to old Star Wars EU books and replaying KOTOR and Jedi Fallen Order, so I can consume good Star Wars content.
But Andrew, if you give yourself over to the experience, if you give yourself over to a static image on an LCD screen, if you give yourself over to Rey and to Kylo, you could
If I
have
had
a
to suffer
good
through that
time.
shit for more than 5.5 minutes, I would give myself over to the dark side and start stabbing bitches.
Yeah.
I love how one of Disney's responses to this is you have to give yourself over to the experience.
Oh,
and
What the hell is
again,
that?
you are being blamed. That again,
It is
you
your
are
job to
getting
create
blamed.
the experience.
Yes, you are getting blamed
Not
if
mine.
you don't have a good time. If you
If
don't have
I'm
a
having
good
to
time,
create
it's
the
your fault.
experience, yeah, if I'm having to create the damn experience, then you give me the $6,000.
Yeah.
That's a good
Fuck
point.
that. Fuck all of that. Again, we're getting blamed for something that they've done. Fuck that.
It's sort of like going to Walmart and then having to check out your own groceries and bag them yourself in the self-checkout line. All right, you're not paying somebody else to do this. I'm having to
tip somebody at a
I'm having to do
buffet.
the work here. So shouldn't my groceries be cheaper? You know,
Yeah,
but
what's
no,
next to
it's,
make you
it's
stock the shelf?
$6,000.
I have seen so many people taking great pleasure at this. I was actually on Reddit. Somebody that said they were there for the cast and crew experience where they got to see the full thing for free said it was neat but exhausting. They said it's you to do everything, you wear yourself out. And okay, if you take that in mind when you go into this thing, okay, you want to spend $5,000, excuse me, $6,000 if it's 3 adults and 1 kid. Do you really want to get up at 7 in the morning to eat your regimented breakfast and get up? Like, I think a vacation's meant to be relaxing, not like
Yeah.
up at the crack. I don't even mind getting up early on vacation, but like, for God's sakes, to like be at breakfast at 7, to like focus on living in your little cell for a couple hours to go play cards. Like, they should have thought this thing out better.
For
Yeah.
shitty dyed blue waffles. Dyed food. That's what you're getting up at 7 fucking a.m. for, and you only get what, 45 minutes? You only get 30 minutes for lunch?
I can
Fuck
make green
that.
eggs and ham for about $6.50. I don't need to spend $6,000.
You're gonna feed 500 people in 30 fucking minutes? I don't think so.
Now I'm looking at some of the food right now. You guys want to see it? Because this is what you get at Star Wars branded breakfast.
Ugh.
It doesn't look appealing. So for those out there with weak stomachs, we ask you to look away and to sit down. Actually, no, this just looks disappointing. And this egg thing looks like lady parts, but
That's supposed to be egg?
That's supposed to be egg.
That looks like the most cheap ass, like Best Western in the bad side of town level, like breakfast buffet. That's what that looks like.
What is that thing in the lower right-hand corner with a toothpick in it or a kebab
Like
stick?
half of a scone.
I think it's a meatball.
Yeah.
Really?
I think it's a. Have you ever heard of a cabbage burger? That's what cabbage burger is, like cabbage and beef in a bread shell. That's what it looks like.
Huh.
it looks nasty to me. Like fried something.
It looks like it came out of someone's ass, is what it looks like.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, it does not look good. For $6,000, I should get better than that.
Did
It's
any of
no
y'all
wonder they can't fill all the bookings.
Did any of y'all ever get the ultimate Hobbit breakfast at Denny's for $20 when the Hobbit came out the first time? They gave you the thickest fucking French toast, bacon, sauce. I mean, it was like
getting hungry.
3 people could eat this one meal that they brought you, and it was $20. You gotta think, back when the Hobbit came out, $20 was something for a breakfast.
Yeah.
A piece.
That sounds good.
But man, it had the thickest French toast, bacon, eggs, pancakes, everything you could imagine they brought you out on this plate for $20. You're paying $5,000 for a 2-night stay, and this is the bullshit they serve you? No. Hell fucking no. 2 shitty undercooked sausage links, what looks like whipped fucking egg, a scone, a cabbage burger, whatever the hell you want to call it, undercooked fucking bacon, crappy hockey puck egg you can get at fucking McDonald's, a half a waffle, and I don't know what the fuck is above the sausage links. This is horseshit.
I think
that might be what's above the sausage links.
Yeah,
Those aren't sausage links. That's a Wookiee penis. That's what that is.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that's like maybe like a biscuit, maybe, or maybe like a really thick pancake.
Well, from the big image that I'm able to see, this looks like some sort of waffle at the top, sausage and eggs, and then another like
That's like a
maybe
home fry.
Yeah, that looks like a potato here, egg and bacon, and then whatever this. Is it going to tell us what it is? Oh no, we got a review.
Oh boy!
So this is the cafeteria at your $6,000 luxury.
My cafeteria in high school looked better than that.
Yeah.
I went
we
to
had a fucking Pizza Hut, a Taco Bell, and a damn Burger King in my cafeteria back in high school. I don't know what the hell that is.
I wish we would have had a Burger King. Oh my! I don't think I would have made it through high school if I had a Burger King in the cafeteria. Holy shit!
Jeff would have just lived there.
I worked at a rally, so I was already in a fast food restaurant 90% of my life. But you know, the BK Lounge was cool. I don't know what we're looking at here. Is this a garbage can or a piece of art?
I think that's supposed to be the music
podium.
the DJ thing,
Yeah,
right?
the DJ stand. That's the DJ podium stand for the night crew.
Oh.
Wow, that's super cool.
So we have Chandrila Starline waffles, rolled omelets, and roasted sausage.
Dude, that looks like Undercooked Ballpark is what that looks like.
Yeah.
So it's an egg and cheese omelet was that nasty thing we were looking at up close.
No
And
fucking
then
way.
the Chandrilian waffle. And
That's a waffle?
Yeah. We have sweet cakes. We have blueberry muffin, croissant, and sweet bun with blue milk, butter, and strawberry jelly. That sounds
Blue
good.
milk.
What the hell, man?
Sweet. Scrambled eggs. Cool. Something normal. Not worth that much money, though. I mean,
I can make scrambled eggs at home just fine.
yeah. Eggs are like $2.
Quite well,
No,
actually.
$2. We have palm fruit yogurt acai sweet cream freeze.
Did they freaking reuse jars? Is that what that is?
Yeah. Made without animal meat, dairy, eggs, and honey. Oh,
And it's not food.
Yeah, I was gonna say it doesn't sound like food to me.
Now this sounds
fruit plate.
a little more Star Warsy. Compressed fruit plate, vacuum sealed fruit bites with simple syrup. That seems something out of Star Wars. Like they don't have real fruit, so they eat fruit bites. All right, that's the one thing I'll go. That's kind of different.
The MRE and the X-wing.
Yeah. Oh god, dude, that's those little sesame sticks that you get at the grocery store. We have the breakfast meat pie, flatbread with cheese, sausage, and bacon. That looks a little.
Dude, I can buy a frozen pizza from Red Baron that looks exactly like that.
That looks like my dog had the runs and took a shit on your piece of bread.
Yeah. Hey, Jeff, just for comparison, as you're going through this, I just shared my screen real quick.
Yeah.
So this image right here is of the current public school system lunch in Boston right now. And this looks more appetizing.
He does.
I don't know. I see a lot of rabbit food on there. I see a lot of things that food eats. I don't see a lot of food, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I would rather eat that. It looks more appealing to me than what they're showing here.
It at least doesn't look like shit.
Yeah,
literal shit.
Yeah,
this doesn't look
like
too
that.
far off of it.
That looks like that looks like dog
somebody.
shit.
Yeah, somebody drizzled shit on that platter.
Yeah.
Wow,
$6,000. That's what you get for $6,000 for your food.
Man, here I thought airports had overpriced, ridiculous food. Like,
dude,
tuna sandwich, $14. Nope, this is way worse.
Like I'm going to WrestleMania, and I think like when we go to the arenas, the $14 mini pizzas and the $20 beers were bad, but this is a $6,000 thing that's all inclusive. Like my WrestleMania trip, I'll spend roughly $1,000. That includes a ticket. Well, maybe this year it's a little more because of price increases, but normally I spend $1,000 to go to WrestleMania, and I fly somewhere, I go to an event, I eat crazy food at all these different places. I don't care about branding and themes. Oh, by the way, we were right. This is a potato waffle.
Oh, potato waffle.
So they basically put hash browns inside of a waffle maker. Is what they do.
Yeah,
essentially, yeah.
I'd rather have the hash browns personally.
How is this in any way Star Wars?
I don't know.
It's not. And that's the thing. They made two mistakes here. They made two big mistakes. They made a lot of more mistakes than just two, but there are two big ones. None of this looks or really feels like Star Wars. What the hell does any of this have to do with Star Wars? And it's overpriced as hell. Everybody has a price. Everybody has, but there has to be value that justifies that price. People are willing to pay X amount of dollars if the perceived value is equivalent to that. None of that is here.
Yeah.
You don't have any of that here.
No dewback legs. That'd be great. Dewback leg, giant meaty leg.
Crispy turkey. That would be fun if they would say like roasted bantha or roasted wampa, and then underneath it would be like rack of lamb, or it tells you what it really is, so you don't think you're eating some like weird horse meat or something. Because I wouldn't put that past Disney these days. But I would like a little more, like at least a meteor egg, which is a Scotch egg coated in cake batter with turmeric oil. Oh,
no, that's nasty.
That doesn't sound appetizing.
What's flat cake batter?
Cake batter without any yeast in it, maybe?
Yeah.
So like unleavened bread?
Oh, okay. I mean, there it is on the inside. It looks not like something I want to eat.
Fucking nasty.
That looks really gross.
It doesn't
looks like 10-year-old rotten egg was cut open and then they decided to put bread around it. That's what that looks like.
Feed me, Seymour. Feed me.
Well, they got blue and green milk on tap. Isn't that great? We get blue milk. The one thing everybody knows from Star Wars is there. Oh.
And green titty milk. That's just great. Green booby milk. That's what everybody wants, is green booby milk.
Yeah.
Now, this, at least they gave the Arbrush writing for all the logos for Coke and Sprite. Like, that works for me. I can't really shit on that one. It's like, there you go. That's cool. Your Powerade still the Powerade logo, though.
I bet you anything that fixture right there is way busier than the blue and green milk shit.
Yeah, I mean, the juice bar looks fine, but that was it. And then they have grab-and-go breakfasts, which we're not going to spend our much... Again, this is just basic hotel food that I get for free.
Everything looks so basic.
Yes.
Yeah, I could be... You could tell me this is the inside of, like, a recently renovated Best Western, and I would believe you.
Yep.
Same.
Are you kidding me? This could be the inside of IKEA.
Yeah, I live by an IKEA. You're not wrong.
They probably got most of those fixtures from IKEA.
Speaking of hotel food, kind of off-topic question for everybody. Have any of you guys been on really hard times and actually gone to a hotel in the morning to get the free continental breakfast?
I lived in Branson, of course I did, because they had some really kick-ass continental breakfast.
Yeah.
Yes. After my motorcycle accident when I wasn't working, yes, I was guilty.
Cannot say that I have.
I'm definitely going to put that in my notes to do one day.
Yeah.
I ate top
Bucket
ramen
list
for
item.
breakfast, lunch, and dinner like a real man.
I kind of want to try it now to see if I can get away with it. I've always wanted to pull that move from the movie Fletch, where I go to a country club or a hotel and I tell them to put it on a specific room and nobody questions me and then leave. I've always wanted to do that, but I'm just not a thief.
That looks like soured milk with sprinkled turd on it, is what that looks like.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's supposed to be yogurt.
Nutty, very nutty, a very nutty shit.
That looks like a donut hole.
Yeah, this is their pre-made breakfast they took back to the room.
With every single photo that you scroll past, I'm like, no wonder they can't sell tickets for this shit.
Because that's what you want to do when you're spending $6,000 fucking dollars for a weekend. You want to go pick up your breakfast and take it back to your room. That's how you want to be treated.
Yeah, your 7.5 by 7.5 prison cell of a room.
with a static LCD screen that has a space view.
Ooh.
I kind of just want to go to Denny's now that Stone Loki mentioned
Man,
it.
they
Get that Hobbit
freaking
breakfast.
They missed the plot with this. Imagine, if you will, if they had actually like contracted out actual legitimate Star Wars fans for ideas on what could make a real legitimate Star Wars theme park badass. They
could have been great.
They would not have a single open day.
Dude,
that's what I think. Toxic. Sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
No, go ahead, man.
I was just gonna say we're all toxic man babies that cry about Star Wars. So why would they come to us and talk to us?
I guess we know what would make you funny better than you do.
We do. Lifelong Star Wars fans know exactly what would make them money, but we're all fucking toxic losers they want nothing to do with. And this is their success story. How many people would pay $6,000 to spend a weekend with fucking Darth Vader invading the ship straight from the original Star Wars movie with a shitload of stormtroopers running around looking for rebels from the Rebel Alliance? Who would want to go on that fucking ride? I know I would. Instead, you get Emo Ren and fucking Rey Palpatine running around. Join us in the resistance,
dude. So that's the climax right there. That's the climax LARP, because that's what this is like. Overproduced, glorified LARPing that's not fun at all is what this shit looks like. But that could be the climax. That could be like the last day that you're there of your stay. Like they have a specific day during the week where that's the event that happens. And on a couple of the days during the week leading up to that, you have like training with either blasters or lightsabers or whatnot. And you actually get to do some cool shit during that invasion of the starship.
You get 15 minutes of lightsaber training. That's what you get in this trip. $6,000. You get 15 minutes of lightsaber training with Rey, of all fucking people, who didn't train with anybody.
I was going to say, she's not qualified to train shit.
So what are you doing? You're waving a lightsaber at this giant stone rock somewhere?
It's asinine. And then they got you going right off into to do something else. Okay, 15 minutes lightsaber training, then we're going to go to Batuu. Where Batuu? Oh, you mean wannabe fucking Tatooine, where we should have the Cantina band kicking ass, taking names, where we should be in Mos Eisley. Instead, we're in this fucking planet nobody's ever fucking heard of called Batuu, with lightsaber creations that cost $300. Oh, you can get a Sith holocron. You can get a Sith holocron for $100. Jedi holocron for $100. Oh, you can get a lightsaber crystal for $50. Screw all of that shit. All it is money, 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 money. Give us your money, 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 money. If I wanted to do that, I could go out and hang out with Bat Steven. Give me your money, 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 money.
Why not even just make like a casino on Nar Shaddaa, right? Like just an actual place where you could gamble and have fun in Star Wars themes, playing some of the Star Wars games that were in like the video games or books and whatnot, like Sabacc and Pazit and all those things, or Pazak, sorry. Like
you have Sabacc here, but like people are kind of critiquing it how lame their 30-minute card tournament is. Like
30
they even
minutes
bought
isn't long enough for playing cards.
No.
That's like saying, hey, you guys are going to play Monopoly. You've got 45 minutes.
Good luck.
We're not even going to go around the whole board yet.
It sounds like a giant speed dating experience.
This is the Tinder of theme parks is what this is.
They figured
I'm
if we can get them
that shit away.
If we can get them jumping from event to event to event to event, and we keep them running the whole time, they'll never see all the giant ass holes we have in this place where it's just nothing but fluff. That's all it is. It's nothing but a cardboard wall with an LCD screen in it that has a static view of space. That's all it is. It's all the entire $6,000 2-day experience is. So they keep you hopping from one thing to the next so that you don't have time to notice just how shitty all of this is.
6K, I could make some custom badass lightsabers. A ton of them.
Well,
that would be money better spent.
Dude, I tried not to do a whole video on where you could spend your money better, but I'll put it like this, folks. If you wanted to have three adults and a kid go to the Disney Star Wars Starcruiser, it's $6,000. Or you could buy 6 of my very first 1993 Toyota Camrys. I could have a fleet of cars, a shitty fleet of cars, but a fleet of cars no less, for $6,000. It's real world practicality, and I get it. We're in the middle of an economic crisis. Gas is $7.60 something down the street from here. Prices are through the fucking roof. Dude, I traveled across the country last year and brought my car out here. I had lived out here I live in a neighborhood where you can walk, so I'm kind of, got used to that, but I still brought my car. I'm glad I did that shit last year because I don't know where the stuff's going to end and how long it's going to be,
You might need to consider buying a horse. It might be cheaper to feed a horse than it is to drive your car at this point.
You're not wrong. I could probably feed it. There's a pasture not too far from you. You can go grazing there. Jesse's up on horses, so she'll make sure they survive. Yeah, I think we'll do that. We'll trade in the cars for 2 horses.
I mean, we still compare everything to the horse anyway. Why not?
Yeah, and if any of those activists wanted to make a green argument against you, like there's nothing greener than a horse.
Yeah. I don't have to charge this horse. It'll just shit, and then we will fertilize with its shit, and it's self-sufficient. So shut up. Have you guys seen all those damn, I know the first one is serious, but the other ones are the sarcastic memes about just buying an electric car. I want to poke everybody in the head with a fanoodle that does that shit. It's like, stop telling me to buy an electric car. Go fuck off. I don't have... Okay, I could go buy an electric car if I want to, but I don't want to. I just don't want to fucking buy an electric car. It's a stupid thing to do for me.
The only electric car I want to buy is the Batmobile because it's nuclear powered. You don't actually need another charging station for it.
No.
Also, I want a Gundam.
Also on the price comparison stuff, just for kind of reference and comparison, year before last, I went, which of course would probably be more expensive now with gas, but I literally spent 2 weeks going on a road trip from Alabama all the way up to Nebraska, South Dakota, Yellowstone and Wyoming, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, and then all the way back. 2 weeks, and it will only cost $4,000. And that was 2 weeks of going out and seeing all kinds of places all over the entire country. Some that I'd seen and some that I'd never even seen before.
That seems like well worth it though, because if you're getting a new experience and you're able to go at your own pace, I mean, there's nothing really better than that, right?
Yep, 100%. And I guarantee you, it was money spent off a lot better, and the experience was also probably 100,000 times better than what you would get at this hotel. Like I said when we started this topic, I wouldn't even. It's not even worth my time to even go to this thing and experience it for even free.
No, I wouldn't go. I agree with Nick. Even if they offered me a free 2-night stay, I'd be like, pfft. And I love Disney.
I would rather pay money and go to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter.
Yeah, I would literally give the 2-ticket experience away on our channel and have a giveaway and say, hey, if somebody wants to go, here's two free tickets. Everything's paid for free. You go. I'm not.
Now, thanks for the quick transition, Nick. Folks, remember, I'm giving away. I do have 2 tickets to give away for Star Wars Celebration, but I'm trying to figure out if I should give them out as, 1 to each fan or a set of 2 so you can bring a guest. But that's bought. So, folks, I'm trying to figure out how to give it away. What do you think is a good contest or trivia or some sort of way where we can really make you guys want it, and earn it in a way? You're not going to buy it from me because I don't want to do that, but we got to find a way to make it fun. So, folks in the chat, let me know what you think would be a fun way to get rid or to give out these Star Wars Celebration tickets, because you can come hang out with us if you want. That'll be fun, and maybe more.
I got a question, Jeff. I heard. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard to even go to this thing, which is in Anaheim, you have to show proof of vaccination. Is that correct?
There was nothing on the website this morning. Now, normally you have these really annoying COVID things that pop up on the top of the screen, but California just relaxed all of theirs to the point where it's like normal. So you walk into the groceries. The only thing that's limited here is the airport, which is all airports, right? Because it's all federal got pushed back a whole nother month.
Mhm.
So other than I can't speak on that because I do not follow. I don't really follow half the codes anyway, but I don't know exactly one-to-one what the rules are. But currently in LA County, where I am for the time being, there really aren't restrictions. Things are just normal. Walk into the grocery store, nobody says shit. The funny thing is, nobody here actually ever said shit. They were just like, they rolled their eyes and went, "Yeah, we know." So, believe me, no one was happy that things were shitty. Like I said, folks, I don't know what the rules are going to be. If I find out, I'll make an announcement and let everybody know. But I'm only going if I can just be myself. Put it like that.
Yeah.
Now. Yeah, we are lax on the rules now, Miss Ninja Julian. Hey, maybe you'll win the tickets. Who knows? You can come hang out with us. So let me check in with the audience, and then we're going to get into some of our other Star Wars topics. I think we'll talk about, hey, you guys feel about Darth Maul next, because that way we can kind of bounce into a little bit of the Obi-Wan trailer. Because have you heard that Darth Maul was supposed to be featured in the Obi-Wan series, but then they changed it?
Mhm.
I did hear that. I have not looked into why.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you haven't. We'll check that out. And there's also an announcement that just happened. I caught it when we were on air, but they have announced another Star Wars movie. Damon Lindelof is reportedly working on it, according to IGN News.
Yeah.
Damon Lindelof is terrible.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to bring it to everyone's attention, because, God damn it, I hate to scream about it, but why do all the bad people get the good sci-fi properties or the genre
People
right?
fail upwards.
They're all
in
friends,
this day and
actually.
age. They're all fail
friends.
upwards.
Yeah, there's that, but they're all friends that are have deep relationships with each other, and that's how they're able to secure these jobs.
And they probably have a lot of dirt on each other.
I no doubt, yeah. But Damon Lindelof is from J.J. Abrams' area, so that's his in easily.
I'm so excited to get more of that type of Star Wars. Let's see. Our friend Cesario Japan, or Caesar Jorpan as he's known, says TV Miss Marvel got a nerf in her powers when it comes to the bracelets. I think it's Disney doing a 25% different move to deny royalties to Amanat. Cesario Japan, I have not heard about that in terms of anything but Star Trek. Over, I think Robot Shlomo had voiced a video talking about the 25% difference in Star Trek versus was it Prime versus Kelvin timelines. So I'm the way I go about it is I haven't heard any other place talk about that, and I assume that people kind of put the 25% difference on based on what they know about the Star Trek one. I've never heard anything concrete. Have you guys heard anything concrete about the 25% difference outside of anything but the Star Trek brand?
Not concrete, no. I've seen that with a couple of superheroes stuff on the DC side of things for their television properties, but nothing that I can think of concrete on that. I think with the Kamala Khan issue, I think it's just Marvel trying to separate distance themselves from their failed Inhumans show. That because she doesn't get her powers from she's an Inhuman, if I'm not mistaken, from the comics, right? And
Correct.
In order for them to I guess in order for them to sort of subtly disavow their big failure with the Inhumans TV series, they just changed the origin to not acknowledge it. I think that's more in line of what they're doing in that regards.
I wish, okay, put it like this. I care about when things get changed, but I wish I cared more about Kamala Khan. I want this show to do whatever and go away. Cesario Japan says, in better news, the Iron Sheik is 80 years strong today. May he scream, "Go fuck yourself," for many more years on Twitter.
Fucking love Sheiky, baby.
Same. Now, I get great joy going to WrestleMania for this one reason this year. So, folks, if you've watched WrestleMania 17, the greatest WrestleMania of all time, it is said by Bobby the Brain Heenan that the Iron Sheik walks so slow by the time he gets to the ring, it'll be WrestleMania 38. Well, we're going back to Texas, the same state that WrestleMania took place at 17 for WrestleMania 38. So all my friends and I, Dion, Dan, and Jesse, we're all hoping that the Iron Sheik finally makes it to the ring at WrestleMania 38. So may he live many, many, many more years. I hope he's eternal. Love the Sheik. TLJ Screwjob, thank you very much. I remember in X-Men Legends how they had Magma as the rookie, a new original creation that's not unlikable. Oh my god. That's rare these days. And he also says, Iceman was my main guy in the game, full upgrades. Anyone here play X-Men Legends?
Oh yeah, both of them. There was X-Men
played
Legends.
the shit out of those games.
Yeah, hell yes.
I have not.
And when you got to the Marvel ones, you could combine powers and do all kinds of crazy stuff that they like tinkered with in the X-Men games, but you never really got to do in the X-Men games. Like you could pick up Wolverine with Colossus and throw him, shit like that, but you couldn't really combine powers. So,
dude, there was a minute. I know this sounds kind of, I don't know, like the sky is falling alarmist, but like there was a point before the movies came out where a lot of the superhero entertainment, they tried harder because it was the only time you got to see the X-Men move. Because the cartoon hadn't been around for a while. The movies were, put it like this, before the MCU, they still tried to treat all the superhero properties like this was the only one you were going to get for a while. I get a feeling from these companies where it's like, oh, you don't like this one? Yeah, well, the Avengers kind of sucked, but here's the Guardians of the Galaxy game, and then it's like they all kind of just roll into each other.
Well, everything's just cookie cutter assembly line now.
Yeah, disposable. It's disposable. Watch it once, throw it away, never have to watch it again. That's the way Loki was. That's the way a fucking Wanda was. That's all these Marvel series. It's like watch them once and you don't ever have to watch them ever again. And they're not even that fucking good. So what's the point?
Well said.
Yeah, they're very superficially written and executed, and that's kind of why I think you can dispose of them so quickly. Because if there's no depth or there's no intrigue to compel the audience to want to watch it again based on its quality. Then it's just going to feel like junk food as opposed to a really well crafted meal.
Yeah, like I literally have no interest in ever going back and rewatching WandaVision or Hawkeye or Falcon Winter Soldier, but I would literally go back and rewatch Breaking Bad or the first couple seasons of Better Call Saul, or shows like that. These Marvel shows that have come out with literally have zero rewatchability for me.
Dude, I could barely get through some of them. Falcon Winter Soldier made me mad. I hated the ethics or the politics or whatever you want to call that show.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that we had a superhero show where all like Captain America, because he's now played by a different skin color, he's like, I'm just going to let this shit slide. It's like, dude, these people that this Carly lady represents are the bad guys, but because they're this or that or refugees, because you understand their plight, you're going to justify what they did. No, come on, man. Yeah. Captain America used to stand for what was right and what was wrong. You're just an asshole with a shield that you didn't deserve. Whatever. But
I literally got called racist for bitching about Falcon being the new Captain America, but they completely failed to see when I was also bitching about the other blonde-haired, blue-eyed white dude who was Captain America earlier in the show.
John Walker?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He was so weird that I liked him.
I thought he was a decent interpretation of the character. I mean, it kind of fit in line with the comics. He was kind of arrogant, trying to be Captain America, but felt he was kind of better than him. Definitely more violent. But, I mean, here's the thing. If you they wanted Sam to be, Falcon to be Captain America, but his name is Sam. Like, why not just make him a new superhero called Uncle Sam? Like, it works perfectly in line with
he
that.
Was his own hero, though.
But yeah, he was his own as Falcon. But
Falcon was an original black superhero that was well liked, well received, and he had his own arc. He had his own shit. Yeah. There was zero reason to change him.
I literally really liked Falcon even more after going into that show a little ways. And then as soon as he decided to pick up the shield and get that new suit, man, I was checked out.
Yeah.
They had to make him Captain America, and that's the problem. Steve Rogers would have never done what he did at the end of Endgame. He would never selfishly take on. He would never go, okay, you know what, guys, I'm out. I'm going to go spend my life over here with Peggy and just chill.
He
would never do that.
Removes
He would bring Piggy back,
self-sacrifice, but that's not the same kid from Brooklyn that freaking jumped on a grenade.
Yes,
That's not the same guy.
And it's not the same studio. And that's the fucking problem. That is the fucking problem. It's not the same studio that brought you the guy that jumped on the grenade. It's this other fucking one that was like, you know what? It's time to make room for the black Captain America.
That's really... It's crazy how some people would listen to you say that and go, "Oh, you're crazy. How can you think that?" What did you not watch the same show that I watched? And look, I never want to pull the card about what I look like or my skin color or this or that, but I have the same problems that people across the board have, and I would love to hear like the racist claim to me.
I'll quote my bro Eric July, Young Ripper 5'9". He says this all the time, and he rails on the Falcon to Black Captain America switch all the time. These white leftists in entertainment only see legitimacy in white characters.
There it is. There fucking is right there.
Yep.
Because they won't let original black characters just stand on their own.
And they've said that. The fucking hacks over at DC Comics fucking said that. We can't create new characters and bring you cute new characters because we can't get people to like them quick enough. So we've got to change the fucking old ones so we can use them to bring you diversity and fucking change.
And then they fail.
And then they fail and they wonder fucking racist. Why. And and we're all obes, Yahtzees, and have our fingers pointed at us like we're the ones with the fucking problem.
No, they are the ones with the problem. And I'll take this Falcon picture off the screen because I'm getting flashbacks to why I hated that show.
Well, what's really sad is that I don't think I'll ever get an Icon movie from Milestone Comics in my lifetime.
There all this talk of a black Superman movie with Michael B. Jordan. No, impossible. You know why? Clark Kent Superman. Clark Kent's white. You want to do a Superman-esque show? Yeah, do freaking Icon.
Yeah, I legitimately want to see Icon. I like him. I think he's a really fascinating character. A guy like 200 years old. He, is a Republican. He's trying to live a normal life and slowly, find his way back to his people, kind of, but not really. And then it's Rocket who inspires him to, do something with the abilities he has. And it's a really cool story. I dug it. And unfortunately, I don't think in my lifetime I'll ever see it adapted to live action.
Shaq did Steel, Man of Steel. And it's not the greatest fucking movie in the world. I understand that, but you want to talk about a Superman, Man of Steel. Shaq did Steel, and Steel was a Superman for a while after the death of Superman.
The reign of the Superman. Yeah, he was one of the.
Judd Nelson was in that. Yeah, as a bad guy.
God, the helmet is what made me laugh about that movie. We rented that when it first came out because it's the 90s. Shaq was cool. He was everywhere. And then it was this. I fell asleep. I hate this fucking movie.
That's not the helmet, and he doesn't have the S on his chest. And they wimped out with that movie. They really did. It should have been the Iron Man like suit and the S on his chest. They didn't do that, but they.
When you half-ass it, it's 100% garbage.
That's right,
bro. When you hire Shaq to act, it's 100% garbage.
Well, that too, yeah.
That would be fun if DC hired Shaq to play Steel in the multiverse. Book it. Let's make it happen, folks.
That's going to be in the new Flash movie, which has been delayed a year.
I'd just like to actually have the Flash in a movie because I've yet to see it.
I haven't even seen the Flash in a television series yet. And I mean, even the John Wesley Shipp version was close, but it was like, can't you just get me like, a Barry Allen that looks like Barry Allen, lanky blonde kid who's really smart.
I need to read up more on the Flash. It's a character that people have told me about.
I got you, bro.
For years, but
I got you.
All right, cool. I definitely want to check it out.
I will give you all the recommendations.
Don't watch the CW show.
I am a flashback savant.
Yeah. The only thing I've read is the stuff Ethan drew because I was I know what it was. I was doing a pinup for this old book I had worked on recently because the pinup's new, and I needed to look at references for running, and I was like, oh, the Flash. So I looked up those books and happened to fall on those issues. So that's about as deep as my Flash knowledge goes. I like him as a frame character for the Justice League because he's the only one that was, the whole, my dad didn't kill my mom. I love that story. I love how he's trying to prove that his dad's an innocent man. He becomes like a police forensic scientist and all that stuff to help with his case. I like the Flash in theory. I don't know. I need to give it more time.
I got you.
Thank you. Up next, we have our friend TLJ Screwjob that says, and then they had Gene turn Iceman into a gay guy from Kansas City. Battle. Not Bobby realized Gene warped his mind.
Well, they've got Gene cucking Cyclops and Wolverine into bed together. So
yeah, I've seen those memes and those images. I'm not a fan.
Neither are the people that made those.
TLJ Screwjob says, New York Times, Simpsons Homer got canceled and met Rogan. Homer Simpson got canceled? Is it because he touched that lady's butt over the gummy Venus de Milo? That was a good episode.
Yeah, back when the Simpsons actually knew how to write episodes.
So you're a script doctor. You talk about writing. Have you ever experienced the show It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
I have, yes. I quite like it, actually.
Okay, it's one of my all-time favorite shows, tied for my favorite show up there with The Twilight Zone. How much of the show have you watched?
A number of episodes across most of the seasons. I haven't done a proper start to finish because I always would catch it on television before I cut the cable, and then afterwards I'd if I see it perusing on the streaming service. Like up here we have Crave, and It's Always Sunny is on there because I'm in Canada at the moment. And every once in a while I'll peruse that. One of my favorite episodes is when they made Lethal Weapon 5. That was brilliant. But I also like the one with when they introduced Danny DeVito in the second season. I think that's when it really kicked off and became a thing. Yeah.
The reason I asked is because the show's writing has become so self-referential and meta to the point where the meta joke is meant to be the joke, but there's no actual joke. And the quality of writing across the board just dies everywhere. It's difficult to try to enjoy it. And I know The Simpsons has been that way for a long time too.
The Simpsons has been that way. In fact, oddly enough, Roseanne Barr had this rule with her television series, which is that no staff writer would remain on the show for more than 2 years. And the reason she wanted that is she wanted to make sure that there'd always be a group of writers that needed to prove themselves. And when you have writers that need to prove themselves, they end up taking a bit more risks and suggestions in the creation process and breaking down each episode. And that allowed them to get the most for comedy, at least for the show of Roseanne at the time, before the last few seasons kind of went off the rails. But that was what it worked for them. And then that's kind of been an unspoken model for a lot of television shows in the 90s and in the early 2000s. But people kind of forgot that, because a lot of agents and writers themselves would argue this is my job. I need this job. I need to be working every year. I can't keep on hunting for work every 2 years if that's going to be the case. So agencies and management and other producers were able to push back on that to some degree for most sitcom-like shows. And when you're dealing with the guys at Always Sunny in Philadelphia, most of the people that are in that show are part of the actual writing team, 100%. I think it's really just come down to fatigue. With The Simpsons, I have no idea what's going on with those people, because the writers change pretty frequently, but they're not really replaced by anyone that's got experience or education of any of the team that started The Simpsons back in '89. Most of the writers that write The Simpsons now grew up watching The Simpsons. They didn't grow up reading, Edgar Allan Poe or Isaac Asimov or any type of books on philosophy, which those first 10 seasons of The Simpsons all do something to address in some regards. And everything after that has been, we're The Simpsons, so we don't have to do much, but it's going to be more commentary on pop culture as opposed to commentary on the family sitcom. And that's probably why it's declined so much, and why nobody even cares, and why you actually have an episode where Homer Simpson gets canceled, as opposed to an episode like Bart Simpson chopping off the head of the Jebediah Springfield statue and having to deal with that, where a prank goes too far would be the allegory. This one is no, it's just commentary on current events, because that doesn't date itself immediately.
Well, That jumps back to earlier when we were talking about some of the writers and stuff, how the modern comic writers lack, and how I had mentioned, we need more life experiences to make great art. Just goes to show you everything goes to self-referential mode. It becomes a meme of itself, and then it kind of peters out, and it can only exist on its brand name and recognition. Kind of a dark way to look at things, folks. I know, but
it is a dark way. In fact, one of the things that can actually save a brand is if the customers, which vote with their wallet, so to speak, doesn't hold the brand above the individual quality of whatever work is coming out. So if you see a Star Wars show that you think is bad, you should voice your opinion that it's bad. And not just say it's Star Wars, I have to like it, because that is not what fandom is. Fandom is about enjoying what's great and criticizing what could have been better, and not being vindictive or bitter about it, and or at least trying not to be. It's really hard, especially when you invest so much time, money, and emotion into your fiction. When it ends up betraying you, you end up putting yourself in that same moment that Luke Skywalker has when he learns that Vader's his father. Like, you're just screaming no, and you're willing to just drop off into the abyss because everything you thought you knew about the certain characters, someone else has just said, no, you're wrong, it's this now. And it feels like an ultimate betrayal. It's like, finding out your dad's not really your dad for some strange reason, even though they were there that raised you. It's very jarring to the human psyche.
I love that you say that, because I like to use the example in video games where you have to criticize, you have to be willing to criticize what you love traditionally and praise what you usually don't. So the example that I would use would be, I have immense love for CD Projekt Red because they gave me the Witcher franchise, and I love The Witcher. But they kind of shit the bed with the initial release of Cyberpunk 2077. Now, I love the game, and they wound up fixing it eventually, but at launch, it was an unplayable mess for like 90% of people that bought it. On the other hand, anybody that's familiar with the video game space knows kind of the devil that EA Games is. They do a million different things that are worthy of criticism. However, they were the publisher, not the developer, but they were the publisher for Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, one of the best just games in general, not just Star Wars games, but just games in general to come out in recent years. And that was something worthy of praise. So there's not enough intellectual honesty happening when it comes to that, I think, with most people, where you have to be willing to actually take something at face value and say, you know what? Yes, this was under the banner of this company that I traditionally don't like, or at least at the moment, I'm not a fan of them, but they put out something under their banner that's actually good and worthy of being praised.
It's funny you bring up CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk. I found my Cyberpunk box, the little slipcover today, and I was thinking about how the upgrade came out. I want to give it a shot. I hope, if anyone here played the upgraded version for the new consoles.
I have. Oh, not for the new consoles. I have it on PC.
Is it better?
Yes.
It's always, if you had enough video memory in your system, like I run a RTX 3090. It's one of the best cards you can buy. It's been okay. It runs so much better now than it did before. It was always better on PC than it ever was on console, but even the PC still had issues and problems. Like sometimes people's, the skins on the characters wouldn't upload. They'd just be like a blob. It'd just be like a mess of blob, or they'd be stuck in the T-pose. You'd run into things like that. You'd run into regular glitches in the game. But now they have put a lot more time and effort into making it what it should have been when it released.
Right now, it feels like what it should have been at launch.
Yeah, there's still some problems. There's problems with the cops popping in. They pop in from further away now, but they still pop in. There's still little things that you can complain about, but it runs and you can play it without a giant crapload of crap having to deal with.
I had to move it over because it's such a big install from the Xbox, but one day I'll try to stream it over on Twitch. I think my issue with the game, underneath all the glitching, which I didn't even have any issues, it's kind of like Grand Theft Auto first person, and I don't know, maybe I thought I was getting a different game. That's just on me, but I don't know. Yeah, G-Baka BST. It was a buy two, get one free game. That is why I got caught up in the hype. Now, speaking of hype, there's a lot of hype, there's sort of hype around Obi-Wan, which is the newest series in the Star Wars universe to not even come out yet. It drops this May 25th, Star Wars Day. As you can see, Disney is really trying to bring Star Wars back. It had gone away for a couple of minutes, but now it's back. So the fucking ever-evolving world of Star Wars, let's talk about it. So we all have seen the Obi-Wan trailer. We can talk about that a little bit later, but Obi-Wan Kenobi, Darth Maul scenes cut, Luke Skywalker replaced during creative overhaul. Okay, so I don't really care about the Luke Skywalker part, but Ray Park, who originally originated the character in The Phantom Menace, was expected to reprise his role as the character, but then written out according to multiple sources. Darth Maul was a chief antagonist of Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan Kenobi, who first appeared in Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. He's not expected to appear in the series, but sources tell The Hollywood Reporter not only was the Sith Lord initially slated to return to the live-action Disney Plus series as a key villain, actor Ray Park was active prep for the role. That, however, was before those scenes were scrapped amid creative overhaul that ultimately saw other antagonists, including Darth Vader, added to the show. Hossein Amani, the original writer who worked with director Deborah Chow on the 6-episode series, and while it was reported that pre-production in early 2020 was halted because Lucasfilm was unhappy with the scripts, the reason behind the pause was a little more layered. According to sources, Chow showed scripts to Star Wars stewards Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, who were coming off the success of The Mandalorian, freshly launched in November of 2019, and deep into the work of Season 2. Sources noted that Filoni and Favreau were concerned about Obi-Wan covering similar ground as The Mandalorian, lone wolf and cub-like story of Kenobi coming out of hiding to protect the child-aged Luke Skywalker. Maul was one of the villains who would participate in the hunt for the pair. Vader was nowhere to be found. Darth Vader was nowhere to be found in the galaxy far, far away at this stage, according to those with the knowledge of the project. Filoni and Favreau pushed Chow in the show to go bigger, according to several sources. In any case, those concerns made their way to Lucasfilm head Kathleen Kennedy, who pressed the pause button. It's unclear
how many times does that happen? Sorry.
Every time. Oh, no, don't apologize. Believe me. Kathleen Kennedy is pissing me off, and she hasn't even... Look, it's the first time she's popped up on the show in a minute. She's the arch nemesis of the Fandom Menace. She's no one's favorite anything. The biggest complaint I have about the Obi-Wan show, now I know who to point fingers to. Why the fuck is Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, why are they going to fight? Did you not watch the first fucking movie where he says, I haven't sensed his presence since the last... Wait, a presence I've not felt since the present... I can't even speak right now. I'm sorry. I'm dehydrated as shit. Let me take a sip of water. What I'm trying to say is when Darth Vader appeared and talked about the presence he hadn't felt since his old master and how he talked about Obi-Wan Kenobi and we meet again at last, the circle is now complete. All of that stuff, this great storytelling got tossed out the fucking window to go bigger. That's so dumb. Like, I get everyone's all high on Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, but Dave Filoni's not as great as people say. I think that.
I agree with that. Dave Filoni is actually a big problem.
And that's why you have the Inquisitors. That's why you have the Inquisitors in this, is because of Filoni. Filoni insisted that the Inquisitors and Vader be in this.
Well, I don't like those characters. Star Wars Rebels is not that great. Firing lightsabers are stupid.
Yeah.
I'm going to have you guys talk for just a second. I'm going to go grab some water. I'll be right back.
No worries. I think Dave Filoni is a problem. I think that there's some episodes of quality in the Clone Wars, and granted, I'm not very, very far into it, but as I understand, he will ignore his own lore if it suits the plot of whatever given episode he's writing at the time, and that's horrible. That is absolutely horrible. In an expansive universe, which is something of continuity, where continuity matters. Things that came before matter. Things that are happening now matter, and they have to take the things that came before into account. You got to be able to do that. You can't just tweak things here and there willy-nilly whenever, the wind blows in a given direction just to suit the plot of a specific episode. You got to be better than that.
And Andrew, Kathleen talked about bringing hope to the series. How much do you want to bet that this POC Inquisitor that they've got is going to be her redemption story? She's in more of the trailer than Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
She's got more FaceTime in the trailer than the hero of the fucking show.
Yeah. Rumor has it that it's either going to be that Inquisitor, the POC Inquisitor, or Leia that's going to, pull Obi-Wan out of his funk of depression, PTSD, and all that. And a lot of the story is going to focus around them. Like she's going to end up turning good, possibly, and end up giving Obi-Wan hope going forward, and pull him out of his funk, or little Princess Leia is going to be the one.
They're going to do a massive disservice and bastardization of the best character of the Star Wars movie sagas by doing that kind of shit. That grieving period, that depression period, that shit's over with. You take care of that shit in like the first year or so. This is much further after that.
This is 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, and he's
still
depressed.
Yeah,
like he's
living in a cave.
Over that.
Living in a cave down by the moisture farm. Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, the fact of the matter is that that Obi-Wan Kenobi is not really hopeless, depressed, or anything. He's just kind of biding his time. He's enacting the philosophy of the Jedi, which is patience. It's like he knows there's an inevitable change going to happen in the galaxy because Luke exists. It's going to happen. All he has to do is just wait. And unfortunately, he doesn't want. I mean, he tries to be active. We get that implication with Uncle Owen saying that Wizard's just a crazy old man, and I don't want you going, implying that he doesn't want him to go near him. But the only real story to tell of Obi-Wan in this period is the story where Obi-Wan and Owen have a divide, where Obi-Wan can't be involved with Luke's, growing up, because technically speaking, based on the prequel trilogy, Obi-Wan is more family to Luke than Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru ever were, because they're married into the family. They had one encounter on Tatooine. It doesn't make any sense. Had they made either like Beru, Anakin's little sister that he had to leave behind, and there was actually something there, to really, solidify a connection with Anakin, not just with his mom, then you could probably make a good argument as to why, at the end of Revenge of the Sith, Luke goes to Owen and Beru, and Leia is separated just to protect her more so. But the real story of this matter is the fact that if Obi-Wan is there, he would be responsible for, protecting Luke and help raising Luke with Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, who is taking on this child that they really did not have any sort of expectations to ever do. The story would be the divide. Something has to happen that makes Owen saying, no, you have to stay away from Luke. There's no amount of whatever you think is going to happen in the future is going to protect this boy whom I'm treating as my own kid. You have to go away. And it has to be something completely unrelated to the Empire, because Tatooine is not really an Empire planet. It's still like Hutt, or at least it's on the Outer Rim. It's a backwater or back sand type of world that has no real impact in the rest of the galaxy. So it should be considered a safe haven, but safe haven from the Empire, not a safe haven from pirates and other criminal activity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's a distinction. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say another thing that really irritates me, and I don't know how they're going to explain this. If the writing's good with a good explanation to this, then maybe I'll accept it. But his whole job on Tatooine is for training that Yoda had for him, to remain hidden in solitude and to watch over Luke, not to go off world, not to go somewhere else. And apparently he does. And I don't know if he does that to protect Luke because he's got to draw people away or what. But, if he's not there, then he's not really doing his job on protecting the future hope of the galaxy.
I thought that too when I saw the trailer. I was like, why is Obi-Wan not in Coruscant, but wherever he is? Maybe it was Coruscant. Who knows? No,
it was a new planet called Diao, I think that's how you pronounce it.
They should have just had it in Nar Shaddaa.
Yeah.
But they can't do shit like that because they don't want anything connecting it. It's so fucking stupid. They want to use characters. They want to cherry pick what they want and then throw in a whole bunch of shit they're gonna do. Let's cherry pick what we want and then do our own shit with it.
And then they want to build in newer stuff that's wholly owned by Disney under the Star Wars brand as well, because I'm pretty sure that there is a deal with where George Lucas does get some restitution for any time they do use the things that he built before Disney's acquisition. It would be foolish for him not to have put that in that massive contract. And I think the one reason we're seeing such a stray away from everything that made Star Wars is because Disney's like, we spent $4 billion on this. We really cannot afford to lose any potential profit to pay off that debt, because they still haven't paid that off yet. I mean, people have to remember they're spending money to make the new content in addition to the $4 billion they already spent. So, they have to start making that. They literally have to make one more movie that took $4 billion in the box office for them to start being close to the black.
It's weird to think like that because every Star Wars apologist, this movie made billions of dollars. You guys are just haters and crazy and this
realize
and that.
How much of that was the production budget and then the marketing budget.
Yeah,
it cost a lot of money to get it photoshopped to the Chinese poster.
$4 billion boondoggle is what it is. It's a $4 million boondoggle. They got bent over, and they've been trying to bend everybody over. They haven't paid authors for their work. They haven't paid residuals. They don't want to be paying money to any of these people that had anything to do with it, and they don't give a shit what you bought, what you supported, any of the things you cared about before Disney bought it. You do not matter. And they wonder why their hotels is not doing as well as it should be, why their last movie didn't do as well as it should, why Solo fucking failed. While any of this is happening, they don't get it because, oh my God, to them it's Star Wars. No, they shit on everyone that supported this when it was dead, and they do it freely because they didn't own it then. So you don't matter. None of the people that supported this kept it alive when there was no movies, when there was just games and books. None of you people matter to them. They do not give two shits about you. All they care about is their new fan base that's not buying anything and sure as shit can't afford to go to their hotel.
Yeah.
Sad, isn't it?
Extremely sad.
It couldn't happen to a nicer company, though, but it is. I read something online where someone had stated that it was uncool to like Star Wars at a certain point, and that's what made it cool. And I thought about that for a moment, because then the next part of their sentence is, but now it's just defending an universally mass-produced commodity. And that's really what Disney did, and you can't get the purest form of Star Wars back. They keep making these new shows with remnants of the old, just enough to get us hooked. And I don't like that they want to reconfigure the future. Yeah, I'm all about businesses making money and figuring out ways to make money and X, Y, Z. I get that. But at what point do you understand that this is also artistic and this also means a lot to people on a deeper level? I mean, people practice Jedi religion, get married dressed as Star Wars characters. It runs deep in the culture. Yeah. And that's why you just can't separate yourself from something you're passionate about. We're passionate, you're passionate. I don't believe a lot of the new defenders of the Disney stuff are that passionate about it because they haven't had enough time to fall in love with the property to be passionate. It's like the people online that freak out about the newest Spider-Man movie and buy all this shit and claim to be the biggest Spider-Man fan. It goes, and I say to myself, yeah, you are the biggest Spider-Man fan of this new thing you just discovered. But remember, somebody was like you and has been like you for 50 years consistently. And remember, their love's going to go even deeper. So just because it's a new thing to you doesn't mean it's not important and deep to us. And yeah, that's where this stuff lives and dies.
Well, those are the people that they're catering to. Those are the people that they're marketing to.
Yeah, I literally watch a channel. Some of the YouTube channels I watch that I really like watching is those first time reacting channels. Like, this is my first time watching Terminator. This is my first time ever watching Predator. And one of the channels I watched, they just this past week watched The Force Awakens for the very first time. They had just recently watched the original trilogy and the prequels. Rogue One, and then they just watched this past week for the very first time The Force Awakens, and they had said before, now I heard this movie got a lot of backlash. I'm not really sure what that's all about, but I know nothing about it. I'm going into it, and I'll see if I like it or not. And they liked it, and they were like, I don't understand where the backlash is coming from, and that's because they didn't grow up with it, just like what Jeff was saying. They didn't grow up reading the books and the comics and watching the movie 1,000 times and being able to repeat every line throughout the movie pretty much, and buying the soundtracks and listening to music and reading the backstories and all that. Watch it just knowing really nothing, just a normie. And so yeah, it's different level of fans, and it seems to really be us hardcore, overly passionate fans for Star Wars that really dislike what they're doing. And it's just like Loki said, it doesn't seem like they care too much about us, and they're focused on generating this new audience. But this new audience, I mean, I don't see them going out buying all the merchandise and
they're not supporting the shit with their wallet. They're supporting it in retweets. Well, guess what? Twitter isn't real life.
Yeah,
that's right. That's exactly fucking right. There was this interview with this woman. She was in her early 30s who just started playing D&D. And she said, I've been playing D&D for the last year with my new partner, and this needs to change, and we really need to get this to change. And, I can't believe I'm doing this because I used to spit on the geeks in high school that would sit there at lunch and play this. These are the fucking people demanding shit be changed. And these are the people Disney is bending over backwards, taking it in the ass from. And they're saying, please, may I have another? Please, may I have another? And that's what they're doing. And Disney's openly going, we've got to do all this stuff for these people that don't give a shit about this except for the last couple of years, and don't financially support the product with money. And we get shit on and pointed fingers at and called all kinds of shit because we love something and we hate to see it get ruined like this and flushed down the damn toilet.
And I think there's an important distinction to be made that, to be fair, I think a lot of people don't make, and people even in this space, in our space here, that, look, yes, Disney has copy and pasted to some degree some stuff from the EU, which they said doesn't exist anymore. But we're not getting the EU. It's not going to happen. It's never going to happen, even though that would ultimately make them more money. So I think there's this idea that if it's not exactly like it happened in the EU, it's immediately not good. And I'm going to clarify this for a second before people lose their shit in the chat. We're not going to get the EU. However, I think what would be fine is if Disney wants to find, you want to tell your own stories with bits and pieces taken from the EU, and use this as inspiration here. I'm going to take that and move this there. I think this would work with this plot. But you kept the characters the same. You kept them consistent with how they were set up for us in the movies, how we know they progress, so that they're not just a character in name only, right? Luke isn't whatever the fuck was in The Last Jedi. Luke is Luke Skywalker, whom we saw in Star Wars through that original trilogy. We know who he is. We know what he looks like. We know how he acts, but he's being put in new situations. And just using Luke as an example, I don't think they're going to do a Luke series anytime soon. But I think if they did that, they would probably get a far better reception from people. Because think about it for a second. Star Wars, is Star Wars the characters, or is Star Wars just the world? What attracts you to Star Wars?
That's a layered question for me.
Because I would say that it's the characters. There are a zillion sci-fi franchises out there, but there's only one franchise that's got Obi-Wan Kenobi. There's only one that's got Luke Skywalker, that's got all these other characters that I love. I get invested in properties for the characters. So I think if they were intelligent, which they're not, that would be the route that they would take. They would say, okay, you know, we decanonized the EU, which sucks. I would prefer to have the EU as canon still. That would be great, but it's not what's going to happen. It's never going to happen. But if they chose instead to be like, okay, we're going to tell these new stories, but these are still your characters. You are going to see them on screen, and they're not just going to look like them physically. They're not just going to be that character in name. They will be that character in their actions, in their words, in their personality. Because, like I said, for me, stories are the characters. The characters are the most important facet.
You're right. The characters are what makes Star Wars Star Wars. I mean, every other thing's just derivative. And the characters speak to us on such a level, and that's why we're always going to fight for them. And I just want people out there to understand that's why people will make Star Wars content that isn't necessarily going to be singing Disney's praise, because they are the bad guys in all of this. It's kind of disappointing.
Yep.
Anyone else want to say anything about Darth Vader, Darth Maul, Zlak, and Obi-Wan Kenobi? Are you guys excited for this series? Did you enjoy what you saw in the trailer?
On my first watch, I actually liked the trailer. As I went back and kind of analyzed it and looked at several things, that it kind of left me with kind of just more concern, which really anything that Disney puts out, I go into having concern. Anything that they do, I don't care how good the trailer is or anything like that. So, but we've always said on our channel, this is like that one, like Book of Boba Fett. It's kind of a throwaway a little bit. It's not going to really, have the entire fandom up in arms. This show right here, if they screw this up, like they are going to get some major backlash.
Oh yeah.
Obi-Wan is one of the most beloved characters in the entire franchise.
Yeah, like this. And the other thing is, this can't just be a meh show. Like this has to be great. And anything less than great is just not good enough.
Can I throw a little bit of a challenge out?
Please.
Anybody who's a longtime Star Wars fan, anybody in chat, anybody on this panel, watch that trailer, because when I heard that music, when I heard the music from Phantom Menace, I was like a smile. Immediately, I was smiling. I had this weird reaction of smiling at a Disney trailer. Mute that trailer. Just put it on mute and tell me what is distinguishing about that trailer when you cannot hear that music. Because that music was placed there to pull on your heartstrings and go, oh man, I remember that. Oh, that music, that badass fight with Obi and Maul.
Yeah, I saw that movie in theaters when I was a little boy.
So did I.
Yep,
Mute that shit. Mute it and then watch it. You will get a totally different experience. Big shout out to Mexican Iron Man, because he's the one who told me to do that. Mute it and then watch it. And it's like,
No, you're absolutely right. Because when I watched it and I heard that music, I did not have. It was the same reaction I had to seeing the X-wing at the end of season 2 of Mandalorian. It was not an oh wow moment. It was, oh, they're doing this. It was basically lots of reservation, because there's no, like, the only reason they would throw in Duel of Fates there, because number one, it was like one of the most popular songs from Star Wars at that time, and even went all the way through to Revenge of the Sith. But it's clearly done just to kind of pull like, the hardcore fans in and be like, yeah, we're using John Williams's original score. This is Star Wars. Which just feels more like a veneer, like a stripper dressed up as a police officer. She's not really a police officer, so she doesn't really have the authority, but she looks good. And if you pay her money, she'll be looking less like a police officer. I mean, that's not really how you want to strategize your IP, in my opinion. But that's kind of like what the feeling I got with this trailer and with subsequently other trailers from previous Star Wars outings.
Yeah, and I want to add one other thing. Just watching the trailer run through right there just made me think of another thing that gives me concern about this show is, you hear a lot of people talking about the Inquisitor and how he's got a fat ass head, which everyone in the species that's been shown before him, and even that very character, did not look like that. Now, yeah, that's kind of a minor thing. And is it going to really make or break the story? Ultimately, no. But when you are not paying attention to detail, when you are making this product, that gives me concern, because anybody that takes pride in their work always pays attention to detail. And that is a detail that they completely missed. It jumped out at me the very first time I watched the trailer, and I've seen it so many times in not only this trailer, but Book of Boba Fett and The Mandalorian, which for the most part, I like The Mandalorian season 1 and 2, but Book of Boba Fett I did not. But
I see horrible. That's why.
Yeah, someone was defending.
I see that a lot.
Someone was defending this as, oh, well, this is the first live action take. No, that's bullshit, because Lucas did it in episode 3.
Yeah.
There was one of them in episode 3. Yep. So we've seen a live action version. It worked then. Why can't they do that now?
This dude's head looks like freaking Roundhead Ryan Johnson's head.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like Michael Ironside from Space Hunter. Have you ever seen that movie?
No.
Yeah, he's got white face makeup, and he's attached to some sort of giant mechanical contraption that moves him around.
I was thinking Murphy from RoboCop.
That too, yeah.
Dead or alive, you're coming with me.
I'm just waiting for him to say that to whoever he's standing in front of.
Now, I didn't realize that the Inquisitor was supposed to be the same species from episode 3.
Yeah.
The Grand Inquisitor, this one is.
Yeah, this one specifically.
Yeah.
I'm mad that the Grand Inquisitor is supposed to be that creature, because I'm looking at the one from episode 3 and I remembered him as soon as you mentioned that. This is such a fucking disappointment, man. It's not even a nitpick to bitch about this.
Yeah, no. They should have got an actor like Doug Jones, who's kind of thin, sinew, lanky, to wear the makeup so that you could have the proper silhouette of the character. But here it looks like they just got a regular Joe actor and threw a football helmet onto him and then put makeup over top of that.
But Anna, that Star Wars girl, did a good video talking about this last week, and there was a fan that went out and digitally changed it to match what it should have looked like. Disney could have easily done that. If they liked this guy for his acting ability and they liked what they saw and how he portrayed the character, okay, that's fine. But and digitally fix his freaking fat ass head,
Easy.
For those out there who don't know the type of creature we're talking about, that was the Disney version on your screen, and this was the Lucas version. I think that's a good representation of the care that's put into Star Wars then versus the care that's put in now.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, there are appliances, prosthetics, contacts, and but Jeff, the guy's got to do more acting in episodes of Obi-Wan. No, the fuck he doesn't. Technology's evolved. They could put this on an actor's face and act. They just wanted to do it cheap and quick. Remember how The Mandalorian was used as an experiment in television? Remember they had the way they were shooting it, they were able to render in the effects so they could see what they were acting in. The producer,
the volume stages.
It's a stagecraft technology. Yeah.
It's they're just using these Disney shows, and I got to make my video still. Really, the Star Wars shows are just used to advance types of technology and make them. Actually, if you think about it from this, it's they'll invest in a new technology with Star Wars, use the money made from the Star Wars implementation to then use that technology on other productions, which that's fine and dandy, but it's Star Wars. You don't get to use it as a fucking guinea pig. Like, this is the king of kings of franchises. This is the Triple H of all franchises out there. Put that shit on the pedestal it deserves to be, because it's almost 50 years old and we're still talking about it.
Well, that's kind of ironic because Star Wars in itself was like even a low budget, like $10 to $11 million film, was experimenting with special effects technology that allowed it to become Star Wars so much so. In fact, even with the prequel trilogy, Lucas was experimenting with computer generated characters and DSLR technology in order to make filming lower filming costs and also really expand on what you can do effects wise. Disney, I think, feels like they're doing the same thing. The problem is that they're kind of missing the crux of what would make it successful, which is it's not just the effects, it's also, are you telling a really compelling story? Now, it's very much you can have a great conversation whether or not George Lucas was able to achieve that on his own with just the prequel trilogies, but he did tell a very compelling story with the original trilogy, and the special effects were never before, like, no one had ever seen them at the time that those films came out. So he was able to do that twofold. But now it's kind of it's been de-evolving with every subsequent generation, unfortunately, because when you have new toys, you kind of lose sight of what was actually made those toys so much fun to play with in the first place, which is like, oh, the success of this story where they knew they had limits and they realized, oh, we don't have the means to hide this flaw with special effects, so we better minimize the amount of special effects we're doing and maximize what we can do really well, which is character and actual motivation and story. And now it seems to be the antithesis of that, because if you look anything in the sequel trilogy, there's very little to no character in all three of those films combined, but they are a heck of a lot special effects driven. And I think that's why they did not resonate in the positive way that people really wanted, and Disney really wanted.
Well, just look at what ILM and Skywalker Sound did in Return of the Jedi with that battle on the second Death Star, and then look how cheap Disney went with the massive starships that half of them were copies of other starships that were on the screen anyway in Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. Exactly. You had thousands of ships there, and we don't even see them do anything individually. They're just a big swarm.
Yeah. And half of them are the same ship.
But there's so much on screen. That's great, right?
Yeah.
So much on screen means nothing unless there's some sort of connection that's made with your audience. And that's why Luke, in the trench run, after seeing those first two attempts fail, means so much, because it's like, oh, we've been following this character this whole time and we actually know what's at stake, and now he's got his one shot, and all of a sudden Biggs gets killed and Wedge has to fly away, and now it's just him by himself. And like, wow, it's a good thing we care about this character, because if it wasn't this character, if it was Gold Leader doing this and then blows it up, it's like, well, why weren't we following Gold Leader's story? Like, what's the point in watching Luke if he's not going to be the hero? And in this case here, we have, what is it? Lando Calrissian goes away and he comes back with his entire fleet, and then we don't even get
like 10 entire
him
fleets
or any of them do anything.
and
that just looks ridiculous.
You mentioned Gold Leader. Take this versus what we got at the end of Rogue One with Red Leader, Blue Leader, Gold Leader, and you're like, man, this is Gold Leader, and you're like, holy shit, that is actually Gold Leader. That is Gold Leader and Red Leader from the original Star Wars, and they're talking during the battle, and you're like, dude, yes, yeah, this is shit. There's nothing here but CG crap.
Yeah,
that scene in Rogue One, dude, I'm glad you brought that one up. That was the best part of that movie. Everyone loves the Darth Vader scene. That's the part of the movie I loved. That was
that's the part I loved too. I hated the Darth Vader scene because I'm like, that's not Darth Vader. That's out of character for him. He doesn't waste his time with plebs like that. Like, every kill he made in our first version of seeing him was intimate. It was one-on-one. He's killing Captain Antilles, interrogating him. Like, he's not chopping him down and all that stuff. He's got stormtroopers to do that. He wants, the main guy.
I totally agree, but I still liked it.
You can still like it for a special effects purpose. Yeah, absolutely. I will never begrudge anyone of that or criticize that. I'm just like, it's kind of out of character from my understanding.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I think Darth Vader's image was slightly rehabbed maybe not for the best overall with Rogue One, but I'm afraid what they're going to do with him in this new one, because they're trying to sell us Hayden Christensen is coming back as a positive. I lived through Hayden Christensen as Darth Vader for that minute. He doesn't add anything to the character. He's just a dude in a suit, and James Earl Jones is the real meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
I'll give David Prowse credit. I'll give Bob Anderson credit, and anyone that did Darth Vader work back in the day. But Hayden Christensen's just like, I could play Darth Vader in the new Star Wars show. I'm tall. The suit would fit now. Like, fuck it. That doesn't mean anything, though. It's just a guy in a suit. And Darth Vader, the character, comes from the voice. And it comes from the magic that's done off screen, the editing, the post-processing. This show misses what makes Vader Vader. And we're going to get more Vader, undo history, retcon stuff. I'm just dreading it. Like, this is a show I'm dreading, because I'm an Obi-Wan fan. He's the absolute best part of the prequel trilogy for me. Ewan McGregor is as good as Alec Guinness. He's the only actor that aged into the point where I believe that becomes Alec Guinness.
Yeah.
Like, no one else could have done that. It was
if there was someone else that could do that, we have not seen them before yet. Like, that's the thing. Like, they got really lucky with Ewan McGregor, even though I thought he was way too young, because I loved Obi-Wan Kenobi from the original trilogy. When I first saw those movies, that was the character I liked more than Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, any of them. I loved Obi-Wan. But I always thought he was like 90 years old, because all the implications of him being an old man and surely he's dead and all that type of stuff. That's what I inferred from those films. But then you find out, wait, he's like 20 years old when he meets Anakin at 9. Like, so he's only like 55, 60 in the original trilogy. That doesn't. Yeah. Why are they calling him an old man at that age? Like, I mean, I just didn't get it. But absolutely, I love Ewan McGregor's take on the character. He does it quite well. He pulled off that Jedi mullet in episode 2. So you made that work. And I would love to see more Obi-Wan adventures with with Ewan McGregor doing that stuff. But I mean, when you're taking a look at this show, I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
And with them adding Darth Vader in here, which I'm fine with, but I've always been in the camp of they should not physically meet each other again whatsoever. If you want to throw Vader in there, have a parallel story going on at the same time as what's going on with whatever Obi-Wan's doing, and have there being like a overarching connection somehow without them actually meeting.
Those two have no business being anywhere near each other until A New Hope.
Yeah,
exactly.
If Vader thought for 1 second Obi-Wan was out there and he knew where he was, or had some semblance of an idea of where he was, there is no way in hell he would not be hunting him down hard.
Yeah, you would figure that if you're doing a story that takes place 10 years after the Revenge of the Sith, you would figure that Vader has spent those 10 years looking for Obi-Wan and has come to the conclusion he must have died. It's not, the clone troopers may have got him or something of that nature. Yeah. But one thing I'd like pointing out to fans, because sometimes they don't register this, is that in A New Hope, Obi-Wan doesn't lose that duel by his own fault. Like, he gives up, and Vader can't kill him. Vader can't kill him, and that's very important to think about.
No, I thought that was already the widely held thing.
See, you think that, but
I thought most people realize that. It's like,
I've seen so many people literally, Obi-Wan doesn't do fancy moves. He doesn't do fancy moves. Like, the fight at the Revenge of the Sith is way more badass. I'm like, sure, it's more fancy, but anyone that knows anything about sword fighting is like the most experienced sword fighter does as few moves as possible because they're conserving their energy.
Yes, exactly. That is exactly right.
And Obi-Wan has got Vader, like, not really on the ropes, but he's just got him at bay for that entire fight. And I'm like, that's really impressive. Like, Obi-Wan is still quite powerful, and there's nothing to say that maybe if he decided not to give up at that moment when he saw Luke, but he may have been able to just finish that fight and then walk back to the Millennium Falcon while Vader's maybe has to nurse a chopped off leg or something. Yeah. But he doesn't do that because he's thinking of a larger plan, which is, I need to inspire Luke to commit to the Jedi way in order to, save his father down the road. Even though that was not really the intention at the time of writing the story, because that idea didn't come up till later. It was basically the hero's journey where in some stories the mentor dies, and that's a lesson for the student to rise to the occasion and take control of their own life at that point.
Hence
But-
what he meant when he said, "Strike me down, and I will become more powerful than you can possibly imagine."
Exactly, and it's almost like a tease because he's like, "You can't strike me down normally," like clearly. So,
And can you imagine in this show if they fight and not once but twice, and it's something as crazy as their fight in episode 3, and then literally like 9 years later, then they have the fight they had on the Death Star.
Nope.
yeah, it just doesn't make up. Like, I know people point to that scene 39 refight of Obi-Wan and Vader, which is excellently choreographed. But from my perspective, I'm thinking it doesn't really belong in the movie for the characters at this point in their lives. It's too flashy, I would say, is my point to it. And I think it's because I was taught growing up that the more disciplined a man is, the more dangerous they can be, because it shows how much they understand control and what that actually means. And when you have someone kind of like flailing about, it shows a recklessness that is also dangerous, but not as dangerous as someone who can actually like think, plot, plan, and execute in as quickly as possible, right? So that's why I was never intimidated by Kylo Ren when I see him throwing a temper tantrum out of console. I'm like, this kid is not going to do anything. And that kid never won a fight, too. That's the other part.
He's the shittiest Sith Lord.
I don't even associate that term with him at all.
Those are just
That's
bad
fair.
fan fiction films to me.
And Vader was never supposed to go back to Tatooine ever. He never wanted to think about Tatooine. He never wanted to see Tatooine ever again. He never wanted to put a boot on that planet because it connected him back to Anakin, and he wanted to do everything possible never to be connected with Anakin again. It wasn't until
he had no idea that Tatooine was below him when he was captured Leia. Like he didn't care. He was so focused on getting those plans. And he's like, just send a detachment down to find the droids. He doesn't even know what planet it is. It just could be another desert world. And even then, I don't even think Vader would want to step on any desert planet ever again in his life.
No, he hates sand.
Yeah. And especially with all like those gears.
I was
and
about to
mechanics,
say, with all the mechanical parts now, all the more so.
Yeah. Like, I don't think his cybernetic armor was made by, Germany in World War II that could make Rolls Royces that survive the deserts.
Yeah, and with him
I just would
having,
love to see Darth
having-
Vader melt. Was it like C-3PO? He gets all that corrosion and shit on Tatooine in the first one. I'd love Darth Vader to land on a planet and just need oil like the Tin Man.
Yeah. I was just getting ready to say, with him having flesh and stuff, it's not like he can be like 3PO and just go get a hot oil bath that would burn his skin even more.
Yeah, the only joints that would work on Darth Vader that aren't robotic are his hip and shoulders.
Yeah.
So he'd be walking like a Frankenstein's monster if he was on Hoth a bit too long and didn't have thermal regulation.
No wonder he's so pissy all the time. What a terrible existence. You're only part man, you ache in weird places, and then you can't feel other places on your body. You killed your wife, you have no dick. I'd hate to be Darth Vader.
Well, he has something he has like a melted something between his legs that's melted in there. Like it's so messed up. But yeah, it's a miserable life that fuels his rage and hatred for being strong in the dark side of the Force.
Well, that's where excuse me. That's where Disney kind of dropped the ball. Not kind of, but did drop the ball. Actually, I want to say a lot of entertainment drops the ball. Bad guys should get their comeuppance. Bad guys should be bad guys. I know it's nice to have a conflicted villain like a Darth Vader, but not every villain needs to be conflicted. Sometimes you need to have your villains treated like Indiana Jones bad guys, where they come, they're great, but then they get fucking murdered right in front of you on screen in a memorable way. That's how bad guys should go out. Victor Maitland from Beverly Hills Cop, he has a memorable death. What happens? He shoots at the cops, and they shoot him 20 times, and he falls down the stairs. Hans Gruber gets dropped from Nakatomi Plaza to glorious fanfare.
Yeah, and on top of that, the villain also has a goal. I mean, yeah, you have also the conflicting parts of the villain, which should not be used all the time. It should be kind of sparingly, or when you can actually really exploit what that type of behavior can do to a story. But a good villain has a personal goal, be it money, power, love, lust, dominance, whatever it is. Like, as long as you convey that goal and you understand why they want it and how dangerous it is for them if they actually achieve it, then you've got a very compelling story for the hero in order to act and find reasons to, be a hero. It's like, you can't just say, as I mentioned earlier, a villain that's a villain for villain's sake. That means nothing. It's very like childish, like 4-year-olds, kids playing in the backyard. You're the bad guy, so we have to stop you. And then they play. It's like, well, that is deliberately an infantile approach to storytelling. But kids grow out of that as they get older, because like when you start playing paintball when you're like 12, 13, it's like, okay, let's capture the flag. We know what the bad guy, our enemy wants. They want our flag, so we want their flag. So that's the rules of this. And you start making understanding and calculations and realizing what human behavior is. But again, whenever I see stuff like even in shows of Batwoman where they're villains that are villains for being villains' sake, it's like, why? I don't understand why they're a villain. Like, I know that they're a villain, but even with like the Joker, I know why he's a villain. He wants, whether it's his personal greed, personal pleasure, to torment Batman or something. It's all very personal to him in some regard, or prove a point. I understand the motivation and the result of the choices he makes because of that. I don't get a villain that's like, yeah, I'm going to kill this person just because. It's like, what did they do to you? Oh, nothing. It's like, okay, you're bad and evil, but if there's nothing there of value, then I'm not going to consider you more of a threat any greater than a crazy person that does these crimes in our real world.
Yeah, but Script, you're talking about a company that can't even get the Empire right now. The Empire was the biggest galactic group of space Yahtzees that have ever ruled the galaxy. And now they're like, oh, whoa, we're all about diversity and inclusion. Hey, lady, want to join the Empire? Hey, alien dude over there, want to join the Empire? Everybody can be in the Empire now. When originally it was a group of xenophobic-ist Yahtzees that didn't want women in the military. They sure as shit didn't want aliens. Palpatine hated aliens. And if you were a woman, you got the short end of the stick and you were never allowed to raise up beyond the rank of captain. One woman held the rank of admiral. One single woman and one alien in the entirety of the Empire. But now everybody gets to play along.
It was Admiral Dalla, right?
Admiral Dalla and Grand Admiral Thrawn, the only alien and the only woman to be an admiral. But now, shit, you've got them in Battlefront, you've got them in Squadrons, you've got them in the games, you've got all this shit where, you know what, just everybody can join the Empire and be a part of the Empire. They can't even get that right.
No, they cannot.
But inclusion's cool. Ugh.
Well, that's the other part too. If they're so great about inclusion, it's like, well, you got the Rebel Alliance right there. There you go. There's your inclusion. What better way to point out exactly the message you want to convey than showing the Empire is this, just everything that Loki said, and then the rebellion is not. Rebellion is the opposite. It's a unification of everybody, all fighting for a common cause of freedom. But no, I think they go with, well, we have to make the Empire diverse because the Empire is popular. Everybody loves the Empire. People want to dress up as stormtroopers and people love Darth Vader. It's like, you're missing the point. That's
Yeah, the uniformity and the sameness and the, I don't want to say homogenization because I'm not talking about food, but that's what the Empire is. It strips you of your humanity. It's for the main goal of defeating the Rebel Alliance and ruling the galaxy. I don't want these things to be softened and likened. I mean, I grew up in the 90s. It wasn't the perfect decade, but it was a lot better than where we are now. But Star Wars was always represented very honestly to us, like even at the kid level in the books and stuff. And you understood how evil the Empire was. You understood their actions. It wasn't the microaggressions or transgressions or whatever these idiots call them. It was like real shit, like genocide, wiping out the Wookiees or wiping out. As a kid, I learned more about slavery first from Star Wars than I did books in school. I learned about galactic slavery and all this shit that the Empire partook in. Why can't Boba Fett's ship be called Slave One? Boba Fett's a bad guy. Just because he's the main character of he's not the main character of the Book of Boba Fett, just because he was the titular character of the Book of Boba Fett, doesn't mean he's got to be a good guy. I don't know if this is strictly a Disney problem. Sony did this with Venom, but then again, Venom is an anti-hero at a certain point in his career, and he's likable and funny.
Yeah.
I need a bad guy that you can go hate. No more political reasons why you can't have a villain that comes from a different country or is a different skin color. You can have one of the best Bond villains is a black dude, Dr. Kananga, Mr. Big. He's great. He was like the black James Bond. Yaphet Kotto himself tried to model himself as the black Bond.
Mm-hmm.
We got a great unique character from that. Branding genre entertainment, you got to have every base covered, from your lead actor to your supporting cast, your heroes and your villains. They all have to work. Star Wars works every character in that first movie. Because I could go with every movie and take time and talk about it, but let's just use the original film because it's smaller. Every one of those characters works. If they work to serve a purpose, they all work to serve a purpose in the story. They're either an archetype, a background character, supporting, or lead. Everybody adds something to that movie. Everybody adds something to that. We used to follow the old school tropes. Sometimes going backwards is the right move. I don't think we need to go back to living in, the 60s, but for God's sakes, we need to go back to a time where when we make our stories and entertainment, we have a baseline of education, qualification, talent, skill. And you don't have to have the world's biggest resume, but show that you're capable of doing what you do. We were going to talk about David Lindelof. Say what?
Having a very good work ethic is also useful, because the fact of the matter that stories evolve with humanity, because stories are basically our species' first means of education. It's all about communication. And I love this analogy that I use, which is that you have, say, a village, a foraging village of a tribe, and there's this, they have these hunters that go out, but only one comes back, and they said, well, I lost my compatriots because we went by this ridge and we heard a noise, and I was the only one that was able to make a way. I don't know what's back there, but I know this: if anyone else goes back there, they were not coming back. And so that story is told to the rest of the tribe. And then another group of hunters goes and they say, you know what, I'm going to go by that ridge. I'm going to see what's going on out there. And only one makes it back and says, yep, that person's right. So we now have this kind of myth that's developed, and that story is passed down. And now you have in this village, yes, you can explore all of it around our village and tribe. You can never go by that one ridge. And then you have this one little one young character, either a boy or a girl, doesn't matter. It's completely irrelevant to gender. But they decide, you know what, there's something behind there. I need to find out what it is, because it's taking away. Anytime there's someone who goes by there, we lose people of our village, and it has an effect on our community. So I'm going to train. I'm going to try. I'm going to be the best runner. I'm going to be the best spear thrower. I'm going to be the best hatchet, chopper, all that other stuff. They train, and then they go over the ridge and they see it's a giant tiger, and it's been eating people for or its own little, cub tribe there has been eating people for generations. And that young man or young child, the growing up, slays the tiger, brings it back, and now you have this story that's told by the elders of this, for generations, our members of the tribe were dying over here because there's a great beast beyond the ridge. But this one boy grew up, trained, went out, slayed the tiger, brought it back, and now our village was able to expand out beyond the ridge. We found a source of water. We were able to start fishing. And it's it's this really epic story, but it's really an education about, you have to kind of, develop skills if you want to be able to go out beyond your village. And that's what he did. And that's the success of it. And that's the core root of education. And what we're getting now is a conflation where we're putting the message or the moral goal of the person's opinion above the allegory nature of how we tell those stories or how we teach those moments or things or values for people. And we evolved the story over the centuries in order to get to those peak periods in the late 1800s and early 1900s of how we convey knowledge through entertainment, through allegory, and even playing around with comedy, satire, love, drama, all those types of genres to convey those messages. And now I don't know what's really happened, I guess possibly with the education system changing and the desire for that end goal, as opposed to the journey of trying to reach that success and actually feeling like it's earned and it can't be taken away from you. We now get these very superficial, these very thin, the message I got from Star Wars about, just because you're a farm boy doesn't mean you can't save the galaxy. I'm just going to make it, just because you're a girl who wants to wait for her family doesn't mean you can't save the galaxy either, and miss the entire point of why they wanted to go out and do that. And on top of that, even with that analogy for The Force Awakens, the main character, Rey, doesn't save the galaxy. She doesn't blow up the planet, but Luke did. She doesn't fly the X-Wing. Luke did. She doesn't do anything other than fight Kylo Ren. And it's that's one of the three things that Luke has done or at least the two things that Luke did in the original first film, Rey doesn't even do at all to try and be the hero of her own story. She's just kind of there, and it's like, yeah, that's the superficial take. That's the one where you don't understand what it is you're trying to tell. You're just kind of copying and pasting and not understanding the substance of what you're copying and pasting.
And she wins. She beats him. She wins. Imagine Luke fighting
Every
Vader.
time.
In the first Star Wars movie, imagine Luke fighting Vader with a lightsaber and beating him. No one would give a shit about Vader after the first movie.
Yeah.
They'd be like, what a chump. We were so wrong. He was scary. He was frightening. And then, oops, look, my saber bent down instead of up. I lost the fight. Oops.
And you can't even make the argument for like Darth Maul. It's like, yeah, the reason Darth Maul may have died at Obi-Wan's hands, but number one, Obi-Wan's experienced Jedi Knight. And number two, he just killed Obi-Wan's master. So clearly he's a threat. So like you can't make that counter argument, because I've heard the counter argument, well, Darth Maul died in the first film. Or Darth Maul lost in the first film. It's like,
and half of why Maul died was his own stupidity. He hated the Jedi, and his own arrogance and hatred was so overpowering that he never saw Obi-Wan doing what he did. He just thought he had him, and I'm going to tease him. And that's something that even Palpatine in the EU told him would get the better of him one day. He said, "Don't gloat. Do not do that. Do not think you have a battle won until it is won."
Exactly.
And he still didn't listen to Palpatine, and that's why he died.
Same thing happened to him when he got his legs chopped off.
And then he caught fire and lost his dick. Once I realized Darth Vader didn't have a dick, I just couldn't stop laughing at him. I'm like, every other
that whole jockstrap that he wears on the outside kind of pointless, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's like, all right, Darth, keep your codpiece to yourself. You're blocking nothing, but whatever. Let's get caught up with the audience real quick and see what's up with them. So Blackguard 4, thank you very much for your super chat of $10 and echoing my sentiment. Every time I hear the first X character in entertainment these days, I usually roll my eyes. These meaningless firsts are exhausting and often turn out to be lies anyway. Well, Blackguard 4, don't you remember? Well, Captain Marvel's not the first Marvel superhero, or sorry, Captain Marvel was the first female-led Marvel studio superhero film. Because it's like, well, there was an Elektra film, and she was a Marvel character. That's female-led. That predates Captain Marvel. So we're always trying to find our hoops to jump through, our hurdles to jump over, how to get to another first, because firsts sell. They sell in comic books, sadly. First issue, that's why books get renumbered. Andrew, how many times has a title that you like been renumbered?
Thank you. A lot. Like going back to the Flash alone, several volumes, and then the most recent one, they what DC did was they re-picked up the actual numerical number rather than continuing along with whatever the present volume number count had been. So the issue wound up going from like, I want to say it was like 70 something to like 700 something to pick up where like it actually would have numerically been going if they had just started from one and kept going from there.
Oh, I get what you're saying. I just don't know why they ever thought it was a good idea to switch these numbers. Like, I'm a Spider-Man fan. I would gladly buy issue 894 and over issue 72 renumbered, because I hate when you get the fucking, it's like issue number 46, and then underneath it says like 300. Well, it would say, because it was 440 something when they stopped, and then it came back in the mid fives. So say it would say issue 23 and issue number 494 or something on it like that. And you're like, what does this fucking numbering even mean? And like, anytime a comic book company is at odds with its buying fan base, you have lost your way. And it goes back to Joe Quesada. It goes back to the guys like that who, were fans that had a little attitude towards the fan base, and they do these things. And these decisions don't necessarily lead to positive change. I hate to use this phrase because not everyone out there is a wrestling fan, but they make these these big changes to pop a buy rate quickly. And people are going to, ooh, the new Marvel, ooh, the new Star Wars, ooh, the new this. And then you read it, and it's the same thing. It's just superficial, and it's disappointing, and you kind of wonder why you spent your time and money, and you're angry with yourself.
Yeah, it's a hoodwink tactic or a cash grab. It's there to sell you the false promise of potential, essentially.
Up next, thank you though, Blackguard. We also have our friend Joseph Bianowicz who says White Castle and Waffle House looks gourmet. I'd rather go to White Castle in Orlando. Newsflash, it's better. Hardee's, anyone?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I like Hardee's. The Frisco burger is my favorite.
I've had that.
So
in Cincinnati, where I lived for most of my life at this point, we had a Hardee's in the 90s by my house at the time. I'll never forget going to Hardee's and getting these Marvel superhero toys. Those were cool. But then Hardee's went away. So we would get the Hardee's commercials, but didn't have any of the restaurants. And now everything out here is Carl's Jr. So I just still don't eat there. But yeah, Joseph, I love Waffle House. No, let me rephrase that. I like Waffle House. I love White Castle. White Castle is a guilty pleasure that I went to my aunt's funeral back in February. And even though we were all distraught and full of funeral food, Jesse and I called White Castle or ordered White Castle on Uber Eats at like 12:45 in the morning when our flight was going to leave at 6 because we just had to have White Castle. So it's what I crave. Glade Riven, thank you very much. Hollywood, it's not who you know, it's who you blow. Bingo. Let's leave it at that.
To a point, I mean, you can't just blow anybody.
Andrew Clark, thank you very much. Says Google Iron Man is coming to the Mandalorian. I did Google Iron Man is coming to the Mandalorian. And what I found was an article from Inside the Magic talking about this. And I'm trying to find out more about him. There's stuff to talk about it, but all right. So a new leak indicates that Grogu is expected to receive an unexpected new weapon that is being hailed as Iron Man-like. What do you guys think of Grogu carrying around a weapon like Iron Man? It's going to be a repulsor blaster or something.
He already has the Force. I don't think he needs anything more.
Yeah,
I really hope that's not accurate. That sounds stupid.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, I was really disappointed with the chainmail armor.
Like, make me like the little guy more already, okay? Not make me like him less. I like the little guy. Just give me more. Like,
he has the wrong eyes for his species. They're completely black dots. Like, Yoda has human eyes. Like, that's the thing that's kind of made you buy into the Yoda being real. It's like his eyes look very, very human, even though he's not. And then this little baby thing is just big, dark, black animal eyes.
You remember Magneto in the X-Men movies? I would have loved to see Grogu with like three little balls, three little metal balls, and him just like force throwing those through people and just ripping them to shreds. I would love it.
Total dark side maneuver, but yes, absolutely.
That'd be cool as shit. We can't have anything cool in Star Wars. Andrew Clark also says Grogu will pilot a modified IG-11. Head is Jarvis. I mean, that one might actually be kind of cool, though. Like, just look.
He's just in a chassis, an IG-11 chassis.
Well, like his own little mech.
Yeah.
I love Mech Warrior, too. So I'd watch that in a heartbeat. SH Rebels 08 says, I'll take a Joe Rogan motorcycle and a message, please. Well, of course, SH or Rebels 08. Gladly. So let me switch over from this to this. Since I liked the nice color blue, I thought everyone would enjoy it with me. You requested a message, so let me message you.
Message! Message! Message!
And here's your next one.
Did you see that guy accidentally hit that moose with his car?
No.
Holy shit. Jamie, pull that video up.
Oh my god, oh my god. Oh my god.
Get wrecked.
Thank you to our friend Headcase Laboratory. Why are all these action shows getting the Mandalorian treatment? By that I mean having the main characters protected from Grogu, ex-Halo, Kenobi shows. I don't know what it is about. We either have these main characters protecting someone else, or these main characters taking a back seat. I wonder how much of a back seat Obi-Wan's going to take in his own show. Anyone? I'm guessing it's going to be.
If their track record so far is pretty good, so
yeah, the pattern is there that it's most likely going to be in name only type of thing.
Mando took the back seat to Grogu in The Mandalorian, and if it wasn't to Grogu, it was to whoever the guest character of the week was. And then Boba Fett took a back seat to fucking everybody. Hell, he took a back seat to Mando in the latter half of the series, which I was actually fine with because Boba wasn't interesting in that series. I hope they don't do it with Obi-Wan. I think it'd be a bad idea. I get why they did it with Grogu, not so much the pulling away from the actual title character and having so much focus put on Baby Yoda / Grogu. I think it was actually smart marketing that there was a huge female audience that latched onto that, because anytime they saw Grogu in danger, there was immediately that maternal instinct, like, no, protect the baby, damn it, type of a thing. And that was smart. That was a marketing decision. But I think that they need to veer away from the hyper emphasis and hyper focus on this kind of ward type character, and they need to actually have the majority of the focal point be on the actual titular character. I don't know, if you're going to call the show Kenobi, then maybe have the vast majority of it be about Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, like what is Obi-Wan Kenobi's role on Tatooine? Like, he's considered like a crazy old wizard, a crazy old man. If anything, he's like the old guy that retires, and he's just kind of like, active community member, kind of distracting the town from what he really once was, so to speak. But now they're making him, nope, he's just going to be this recluse type of guy. Like, there's nothing really interesting about a recluse character unless you're saying like that's his habit, and all of a sudden now we're going to, stir the pot. In which case it's like, well, how do you stir the pot and not make it be so dominant that it deters everything of what we'll later see of this character? Like, that's the real trick. And I don't think they have enough positively experienced writers that could achieve such a goal.
Well, that's where the POC Inquisitor comes in, because the POC Inquisitor is going to teach Obi-Wan how to be the man he's going to become in the first Star Wars movie. Same thing with the Master Chief in Halo. It's been the same thing with Spock in Star Trek. Mikey Burnham, the plank of wood, taught Spock how to be the man he needs to be in the original series and in the movies. It's the same fucking story from the same group of hacks that are all scissoring in their writing room thinking that they're the bee's knees in Hollywood now. We're the ones who rule the roost because we've come up with the same shit in a different way to tell it over and over and over again, so that you think a woman was behind every great man that ever fucking existed, and I'm tired of hearing it.
Could we get the footage of that happening? Because that's more interesting than the artwork in the movies they make.
I'm good.
I thought Obi-Wan in the EU had a love interest during the Clone War.
He did.
He did.
Well, he did during the Clone Wars, and then he kind of there was a potential for it if you read the Kenobi novel. There was definitely like chemistry between him and this woman.
Well, in the original Force Awakens, Rey was supposed to be a Kenobi. Somehow. Rey was supposed to be the granddaughter of Obi-Wan Kenobi. The Duchess Satine and Obi-Wan had a kid that nobody knew about, that was kept secret and off the books, and Rey is the child of that kid.
You know what I find funny about that? It's something that I've encountered many times in Hollywood, where they think, oh, because this character has a British accent, yes, logically their parents are going to be British or grandparents are going to be British as well. It's like, accent is not genetic. It's regional based on dialect. So like, just because this character is introduced having a British accent, she's the only one that speaks like her on this planet. It doesn't mean that her parents or any of her other family would have the same dialect. I mean, it's completely asinine to think of that.
Yeah.
But that was exactly how J.J. Abrams was thinking. It's like, okay, we have a British character. We're going to use that as our implication that maybe she's connected to Obi-Wan. And I'm like, why? I mean, if you do that and you say that she's Obi-Wan, now you've unlocked a huge potential story of like, how more interesting are her parents going to be compared to Rey? Because you have to deal with the child of Obi-Wan Kenobi and this Duchess. It's like, that's going to be an interesting life. And also, at one point, since it's already been implied from the prequel trilogy that primarily speaking, from the prequel trilogy, that the Force is genetic, how do you reconcile that type of character's life, and how do you not have Obi-Wan think of his offspring as potentially being a last-ditch effort to stop, Vader and the Emperor in the event that Luke does not succeed? Because again, Obi-Wan defeated Vader. There's nothing special about Obi-Wan. He was just a very good Jedi who completed his training and mastered everything, where Anakin Skywalker was still technically a Padawan at that point. So yeah, there's lots to be discovered when you present such an idea that unfortunately can hold more potential than the very idea you're presenting. And that's what we saw with The Force Awakens for sure.
How amazing would it have been for Luke to turn down Rey in the beginning and her come back with, I'm the granddaughter of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it stops him in his fucking tracks, and he turns around and looks at her and he's like, impossible. And she explains, hey, this old bastard, Max von Sydow, he came to my planet and he explained that my grandmother was the Duchess Satine and my granddad was Obi-Wan Kenobi, and my parents got killed and I got left on this desert planet, and I never knew this until this old bastard found me, because that's what Max von Sydow was supposed to be there for in Force Awakens. That's what his character was, connected to Satine. And he knew Rey was on that planet. That's what that whole bullshit beginning of that movie was supposed to be about, with Oscar Isaacs coming and talking, Poe coming and talking to Max von Sydow's character. That's what that whole opening was supposed to be about. And they trash canned all of that. Fucking roundhead Ryan Johnson and his gaggle of idiots trashed it and said, no, we're going to do something else.
Yeah, essentially Max von Sydow would have been the Obi-Wan Kenobi character who was killed before he had a chance to actually talk to with Rey. I mean, that's an interesting take, and I think that they could have had a lot more fun with it if they followed through. Again, but that's only one of the dozen or so problems that The Force Awakens has.
Yes.
Well, you still would have had to have written Rey as a interesting character on her own.
Exactly.
Just having lineage doesn't mean dick. Yeah. I would have certainly preferred her to, when I first saw The Force Awakens, I had my problems from the start of the movie all the way through the end of it. But when she first touches that lightsaber and you hear Obi-Wan's voice, these are your first steps. I'm like, motherfucker, is she a Kenobi?
Yeah. Yeah. And I wanted to see her ass hauling pails of water up those fucking steps. I'm going to learn from the Kung Fu master Luke Skywalker himself, and him be like, buckets, water now up the steps, and her just running up those steps. Interested. Yeah.
Well, here's the one thing that I would have done if I was given the Force Awakens script and they hired me to say, listen, it's not working. We need to fix it up a little bit. How can you help us out? I'm like, okay. The Max von Sydow character, we're not going to kill him. We're actually going to have him captured, and he's going to be on Starkiller Base. And we'll have Rey actually wanting to try and get off the planet, and she has this spaceship that she's been building, but it keeps failing. And then because of Finn's arrival, that they're able to reconcile that and get it up and running. But as they're on Starkiller Base, Rey is trying to escape, and she ends up finding the cell with Max von Sydow's character. And he looks at her and he says, well, it's about time you showed up. And all of a sudden, a ripple effect appears over Max von Sydow. And it's revealed that Max von Sydow is a massive Jedi mind trick. And that's Luke Skywalker. And he's been there the entire time, because from Starkiller Base, he did another mind trick where he made it look like Starkiller Base fired on those planets and destroyed them, but he actually didn't. And it still has a reactor full of that sun's charge. And now it's sucking another sun. It's going to overload as a result of it. And he's like, this is the only way I was able to get on this base, prevent them from using the super weapon, because I've seen what the super weapon can do. And now that you're here and you answered my call through the Force, we're going to get the heck out of Dodge on the Millennium Falcon. And it's just a massive plan. You don't even need to fight with Kylo Ren or anything of that nature. You just show that Luke has become so powerful and so and thinking ahead and presented this myth that he's gone missing in order to get the Empire to capture him, so we can find out where this Starkiller Base is and save the galaxy and kind of thwart this new order, this First Order crap. And it's all been kind of like a massive 4D chess move, because that, Luke Skywalker, Leia Organa, they should all be way ahead of this because they experienced it the first time. Like, they should know these types of plots, and that can actually caused the First Order to be like, okay, we have to try a new tactic for the sequel. And then you have in the sequel is like, listen, Rey, Finn, listen, you're going to join my Jedi Academy, which I have. And it's completely secret. And like, just like Fight Club, you don't talk about it. And you just kind of carry the story out that way. And that way you can explain why Luke Skywalker is not in most of the film, but you realize, oh, it's a far more simple plot with an elaborate cover to kind of make this like an oh wow moment, something that you've never seen in Star Wars, which is Luke Skywalker Jedi mind tricking like a quarter of the galaxy into thinking 5 planets exploded. Also that the very villains themselves lead to their own destruction without Luke Skywalker actually killing them like he did as a rebel.
Yeah, hearing all this talk on changing The Force Awakens and what they should have done and stuff just made me think of 2 potential spoilers for this Obi-Wan show. Now, of course, it's just rumor, but I could totally see them doing this. So, and this is another thing that gives me concern about the Obi-Wan show and going into this thing is, one, Obi-Wan has some sort of relationship with a female Jawa for comedic relief in the show. 2, Obi-Wan, while he's watching Luke's with Uncle Owen, Aunt Beru, they're, walking through town, and he sees a little T-16 Skyhopper toy, that we see in the first Star Wars movie that he's playing with. And he wants it, and they won't get it for him. Well, Obi-Wan actually, the Jawa that he has a relationship with actually ends up having one, and he buys it off of the Jawa and takes it to Luke, and those are some of the sort of more lighthearted things that they're potentially doing in the show, because Kathleen Kennedy said that it was too dark. Well, my issue with it is it's supposed to be dark during this time right now, because if you go back to what Obi-Wan said, when he was talking to Luke in the first Star Wars movie, before the dark times, before the Empire, these are dark times. I don't want to see any Marvel comedic relief in here or any Disney princess, cartoon comic relief or story arcs thrown in there. This should be a very dark and serious thing. You should not be watching this show laughing and cutting up and having jokes. If there's any comedy, it should be something along the lines of the original Star Wars, when Han's like, Chewie, take the professor in the back and hook him into the hyperdrive, something
or who's
like
more
that.
Foolish, the fool or the fool who follows him, that type of thing.
Yeah, like just some one-liner off things, just thrown in there to kind of add a little bit of comic relief. But if they do this little lightheartedness thing in this, it's completely going to pull me out, because I think this needs to be a very adult-centric and serious show that's also acceptable for kids to watch.
What are you going to do when they explain that Jawas are now monogendered, and that Jawa is the same Jawa that crazy bitch in The Mandalorian was banging?
I'm going to vomit blood.
Dude, I'm about to just hang myself here live on air.
Please don't. The channel will get struck, please. I need... No, just don't. Actually, you got a lot to live for. But I think we've reached a pretty good place in terms of our discussion. Let's read our friend super chat from Glade Revan. Old Ben Kenobi, get off my sand, you kids. So you want space Clint Eastwood? I'm down with that.
From Gran Torino? Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Goddamn Jawas.
You couldn't make that movie nowadays.
You could not. I was living fairly close to when it was shot. I was living in Lansing when it was shot in Michigan, so it was right down the street where they shot that movie from us.
Oh, nice.
Not in the movie, have no connection to it whatsoever, but we were all in college. Well, Dion and I were in college up there during that shoot, and then it came out. We're like, oh my God, that was made right down the street. We've been there multiple times, but I digress. Now, I wanted to bring this message on screen to everyone's attention from Vinny Art, who says Obi-Wan Bon Jovi. Now, that's a good name that I'm probably going to use in passing, but I wanted to bring everyone's attention to Vinny Art, because tomorrow night here on the channel, I have a very special stream with our friend Vinny and his co-host Tommy. We're going to be talking about toys, comics, anything you guys want. That's live. I have a link in the description. Excuse me, I don't have a link in the description. I dropped a link in the chat. That live stream is live, as well as our following live stream, excuse me, I'll remember these things. On Thursday, it's our St. Patrick's Day extravaganza. We uploaded that on Sunday. We have the link. It is live. You guys can find that here on the channel, but we're going to be drinking. It's going to be one of those days. It's going to be like a podcast and a party in one. So the guys and I will be hanging out, drinking, having our corned beef and cabbage, drinking for super chats, all that fun stuff. We might even throw in our favorite Irish movie, Taken, because Liam Neeson's Irish, right? So there you go. That works.
Okay.
Not crawl.
Are you gonna eat Lucky Charms while you do it? Is it?
I might get a bowl of Lucky Charms and watch Leprechaun in the Hood afterwards. So
you should do is have some
culturally.
That's pretty good. That's a pretty good combination, actually.
It's the best. I mean, I love Leprechaun in the Hood. It's terrible. It's better than Leprechaun in Space. But folks, the fun part about that is you can actually join us a little earlier over on 17 Live. Jessie streams over there as godempress.me, and she's going to have we're having an actual party at our apartment. Thursday is a party day. So you can watch the pre-party over there. We're going to be drinking, hanging out. You can ask questions and all that fun stuff. And if you want more of this show tonight, we're going to be over on Mindless Bullshit in just a couple of minutes to continue the conversation and have a lot of fun. So from my end, that's pretty much it, folks. Make sure you go check out today's videos. We have yesterday I uploaded a Starcruiser video about how it's flopping. That's a fun one. And then today I just put up a quick reaction to Miss Marvel. Check that out as well. I wanted to talk about this little Twitter feud I had this morning. I'll just mention it briefly to you guys because it's really not that important. But I had uploaded this picture, or I shared a picture to Twitter from a meme I found on Facebook of Kylo Ren stabbing Rey in the chest, right? Mm-hmm. And I laughed and I thought it was funny, but everyone's like, you can't alter the image. And I'm going, how did I alter the image? Everyone started freaking out. So I just wanted to ask you something, Andrew, because you're here more regularly than anyone else, but feel free, everyone on the panel, to answer. But I'm going to share this image real quick. Can you tell me if you can actually read what this says right here? Hold on a second. Can you read up here in the top left-hand corner? Can you at least see something's written there?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was funny. Everyone on Twitter was freaking out about this meme, and they're like, "Oh, you altered the image." They're like, "You took the whatever away." I'm like, "I didn't alter this image. We can hire Batman if you want to get a forensic artist up in here." And here's the little thing right here. So I just wanted to tell you, Raylos are fucking insane. If you share their memes, they freak the fuck out. So,
that's kind of all you can just stop it right at saying Raylos. Well, everything after that's redundant.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are dumb. But folks, don't be dumb. Be smart. Let's find out where we can find everyone together here on the internet. Stone Loki, thank you for joining us officially on the channel. Where can we find you on the internet, sir?
Thank you so much for having me, Jeff. Guys, you can find me over at Loki's Mornings of Mischief. If any of you guys out there are thinking about streaming, 4 years ago, I was in a motorcycle accident. I was almost crippled. I spent a year on my couch listening to people like Jeff, Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, Ethan Van Skyber. And then 2 years ago, I said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to make a morning show. And here I am, hanging out with Jeff, hanging out with Nick from Echo Base. You guys can do that too if you put your mind to it, if you dedicate your time, if you spend the time to do this and you really want to do this, step up to the plate, do it, use your voice, spend the time, get to know these great and wonderful people, get to know all of you wonderful people in chat. So many of you are absolutely kick-ass. We love hanging out on Monday through Friday mornings, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. And you guys can do that too. Each and every one of you that want to do this, all you have to do is put your mind to it and you can accomplish anything.
A wise man once said that. I think he was a doctor. I can't remember his last name.
Your life is what you make of it, Marty. So make it a good one.
Dude, when we do some Back to the Future content, you got to join us.
Oh, hell yeah. I'd love to. I love Back to the Future.
It's,
who doesn't like Back to the Future?
The first one is a perfect movie, pretty much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You even have Marty McFly with his cassette tape and a letter at the very end, and he puts it on the counter when he gets shocked at the changing of his siblings' head in the living room. Like he's ready to mail his songs to the record company.
Dude, the only person I've ever heard try to tear apart Back to the Future from being a perfect movie was Robert Zemeckis, but I believe he was trying to be humble because the stuff he said is, oh, there are certain shots that are out of focus or this or that. It's not perfect, but we really tried. Like, I get where you're coming from, Bob, but you delivered. Back to the Future.
Yeah,
I love it.
Zemeckis and Gale, man, they were great. Gosh.
Caffeinated Wolf, where can we, since we're doing it in order, where can we find you on the internet, sir?
You can find me over on Twitch streaming games at Caffeinated Wolf. I am currently replaying Jedi Fallen Order, but I'm playing through on Jedi Master, or Jedi Grandmaster, rather. Difficulty, so the highest difficulty in the game. So it's basically a Dark Souls game now, but with lightsabers. And I also have been binging Elden Ring lately, and I'm toying around the idea of streaming that as well, since that seems to be pretty popular, and I'm really loving the game. It's right up my alley. So yeah, check me out over there. And fairly soon, you'll be able to check me out on my YouTube as well, as I'm in the process of putting together my own panel show.
Nice.
Ooh, nice. Cool. To our friend Script Doctor. I'm sorry, I wasn't looking at the screen for a second. Where can we find you on the internet?
Mostly on Twitter, because I do have a YouTube channel, but for now you can find me on Twitter at ScriptDoctorPhD. My YouTube channel is on a break as I'm working on screenplays at the moment. Just finished my 4th one just recently in the last few months. So when I don't have those opportunities, I'll be back on making content again. But you can always take a look at my videos where I analyze and break down film and television. I've got videos on Star Wars, Star Trek, Batwoman. Even some general stuff on Walter Mosley and J.J. Abrams as well. So feel free to check those out at youtube.com/scriptdoctor.
And finally, Echo Base Network. Where can we find you, Nick?
You guys can find me over on Echo Base Network and our second channel, Echo Base TV, where which we didn't really know what we're going to do with, but we're actually turning it into like a reaction game and gameplay channel. So like I'm taking Coach through Deep Space Nine for the first time. So all those edits of us getting Coach's reaction, watching the episodes is over there, and we'll do the same thing with trailers, Moon Knight, the Obi-Wan series, all that. But our main channel, Echo Base Network, most people know us from our Star Wars sequel trilogy documentary, and we're actually in the process. I actually just emailed some people today on our next one that should be coming out this year on the rise and fall of LucasArts gaming. Script Doctor actually even gave us some notes on our script for that, and we actually got a rough cut of it together. Now we're just lining up interviews and kind of putting all the puzzle pieces together and the kind of post-production part of it all. And so yes, at some point in time this year we'll be doing that. And then we got our very first channel meetup in Nashville, Tennessee at the ICCC Con. Stone Loki will be there with us as well. Ian McDermott, who played the Emperor, will be there. Anthony Daniels will be there. Ashley Eckstein will be there. Timothy Zahn will be there. This is not a Disney event. It is a fan event for fans. And it'll be our very first channel meetup, and that's at the end of April. And that's about it.
Well, we did get another super chat that rolled in from Bill in the Box, who says, the Miss Marvel video was great, Jeff. The likability of an ingrown toenail was so on point. Well, thank you, Bill in the Box. I appreciate you checking out the content, appreciate the message, obviously. But I chuckled when I wrote it. I'm glad you liked it. That's how I feel about the character. And folks, be like Bill in the Box and make sure you guys go check out the video. Bill in the Box is a big backer of Wokebusters 2, I believe. So thank you very much, Bill in the Box, for all the support you've given the channel. Also, folks, in like 10 days, I'll be at Horror Hound. The World Class Bullshitters will be at Horror Hound, Cincinnati, at the Sharonville Convention Center. We'll be talking about Wokebusters, giving out some freebies, and getting the word out there. So from all of us here on the show, thank you for watching. Make sure you guys click the link in the chat. That's going to take you all the way over to Mindless Bullshit, which we're going to go to in a few moments. So make sure you watch me over there live. For the meantime, though, folks, be smart, be safe, be cool, but always be excellent to each other. And I think we're going to have a nice added bonus at the end of the show.
Commence primary ignition.